All righty, everybody. Welcome on in to the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live. How is everybody doing today? Welcome on in. We have a couple of interesting polls coming out of New York. Our friend Claire Valdez got her first poll of New York, and she's winning by 2%. Okay, chat, we need to get Hassan to go back to New York. It's time to campaign with her more. Ken Martin released a DNC report which he claims does not meet my standards. The words Israel and Gaza do not appear. The quick skim seems to be mostly expense related. He's going this weekend. Okay. DNC autopsy rule released. Okay. Well, shit. Right? As soon as I fucking start my stream, this shit happens. All right. Well, I guess I have to put that in my title, huh? How many times could I say the Trump polling crashes? You know, that's like expected at this point. Breaking DNC report release. This version of the report, better known as the 2024 autopsy, was written by Democratic strategist Paul Rivera. The DNC withheld the report until presented with CNN's reporting about much of its contents. The copy published by CNN includes annotations in red that the DNC added to its version of Rivera's report. CNN has not modified the report and does not vouch for the accuracy of any statements within the report or the DNC's annotations. When I was elected DNC chair, I commissioned an after-action review of the 2024 election that I wanted to be honest and transparent with actionable and specific takeaways for the future of the Democratic Party. When I received the report late last year, it wasn't ready for prime time, not even close. And because no source material was provided, it would have meant starting over. I could not in good faith put the DNC's stamp of approval on the report that was produced. After last November's massive Democratic wins, I didn't want to create a distraction by not putting the report out. I ended up creating an even bigger distraction. For that, I sincerely apologize. For full transparency, I am releasing the report as we received it in its entirety, unedited and unabridged. It does not meet my standards, and it won't meet your standards, but I'm doing this because people need to be able to trust the Democratic Party and trust our word. Why did I not get a notification that you were live this morning? WTF? Well, go in there, make sure that you have that, always notifications always on. New York's mayor is launching a new show on Twitch called Talk with the People. The mayor will answer questions live from the chat with simulcasts from YouTube, TikTok, IG, Facebook, X, and Blue Sky. Everybody wants to be a streamer. Also, haha, Hassan's time slot, haha. Ask you about endorsing DSA candidates at NYC. Yeah, it's so true. Hassan, I can't be a streamer and work in public. That's what so it's another Mike was right. Another Mike was right. Of course he could be a streamer. He might have to stream slightly less. And so there would be an opportunity in his time slot for somebody who had been a hardworking streamer for years, who has really good takes. Somebody who has been right about all their political analysis. So how's the stonks doing, chat? Not that great. Not that bad, but not that great. Krasner to take over Philly Dem leadership. Can I just make fun of how dumb centrists are real quick? What's the other breaking news story? Oh yeah, Trump's slush fund. Trump steals $1.776 billion from the Treasury. Like this story about stealing the 1.76 billion, it actually might be the most important story of our entire lives. Have you watched Michael Burns' new video, The Online Left Does Not Exist? No, but that sounds about right. That sounds about something I would say. Chris Robb went on NBC. All right, we'll check that out. And by the way, chat, Larry Krasner, George Soros DA Larry Krasner, he almost got into a fight with apparently the head of the building trades union. And he really hates the establishment Democrats in Philly. So this is what he posted this morning.
Chairman Bob Brady, I say this respectfully, it is time to step aside. I'm up here at Democratic City Committee, which is the halls of power for the leadership of the Democratic Party in Philadelphia. A couple days after Election Day, and I have great news. I'm going to get to continue to work with some great Pennsylvania legislators who are my friends, Sharif Street, Morgan Cephas. I'm going to get to continue to work and collaborate with a great doctor, and that's Dr. Ayla Stanford. But there is also some other news, and that is that the Democratic Party in Philadelphia far too long has spent more time fighting against progressives, fighting against its future, than they have spent fighting against Republicans, fighting against fascists, fighting against Donald Trump. And so we are in a position where what we have to do is come together, and we have to fight against our common enemy. If we don't, November could be very, very, very dark for the future of this country. I am asking you, Mr. Chairman, to have the wisdom that your friend Joe Biden had, which is to put the outsiders ahead of the insiders, to put the future ahead of the past, and understand that after 40 years serving as chairman of this party, there needs to be some new leadership that will...
Mike, is Hassan okay? His stream stopped suddenly last night and no word since. That's not even true. He said that there is an internet outage. He literally said, wait, what do you mean?
Embrace the future, not reject it. That will fight together with the Working Families Party, with liberals, with progressives, fight together in a big tent against the other side. And if we all do that, then yes, indeed, November will be a beautiful month, and this country will have a beautiful future. Mr. Chairman, it is time, and I say this respectfully, to step aside.
Does anyone have that video of Tim Miller saying his ideal candidate was Jared Polis? Can someone find me that video real quick? Because I want to make a quick comment on how Tim Miller is a fucking dumbass. We need to force Assad to put solar on his house. I think it was an internet outage, but Mike F's, nobody seems to notice. When Assad F's, everyone loses their mind. I don't think I F so much that I'm like gone for the day. When's the last time that happened? Oh, it was a power outage? Oh, yeah. He should have internet. He should put a solar on his house and get a backup battery. What is he doing? I guess that still might take his internet down in the neighborhood though, right? All right. No, not the video of him defending it, which makes it even worse. That's awesome. Him saying that it was his best, that it was his favorite candidate. This is even worse. I didn't even know he did this. This is fucking terrible. Noron's coming to Twitch? Yeah, I tweeted about it just now. It was the one with Hutch. Yeah. Can someone find me that? My ideal candidate is Jared Polis. And then we'll watch this. Oh, here we go. Jared Polis is an idiot. All right, let's put this title down so our editors can editors can when is it? Like, how deep into it is it? I don't want to watch a bunch of dumb bullshit. You know, like what the timestamp is?
To make somebody president I would want for right now. Look at Graham Plattner and Janet Mills, and that's exactly what's happened. And it was really dumb of the third way to do it, just as a strategic matter.
Okay, so here's Tim Miller. If you don't know who Tim Miller is, he is MSNBC's favorite alternative media thing to push. And you may be wondering, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is Tim Miller? Tim Miller was the communications director for the Jeb Bush campaign. He's the guy who put the exclamation point on the end of Jeb, or at least probably not him. He doesn't seem like he has the design chops for that, looking at his hat that he's currently wearing. And it is rightly considered the worst presidential campaign in American history. It spent more money per vote received than any other presidential campaign of a major party in history. It is safe to say that the Jeb Bush campaign was the worst campaign ever. And Jeb Bush, both his father and younger brother, I think Jeb was the older, right? Am I wrong? Who was the older? Or was it George? Was he the younger? I forgot now. God damn it. This rant doesn't work. W is the older. Okay. Jeb Bush, his brother and his dad were president, and he had the worst campaign ever. And so Bulwark, the den of Republican scum that it is, have been attacking Hassan Piker, and they have been attacking Zohran Mamdani. They have been a key front of the establishment's attacks on the progressive left online. Now, if you liked Bulwark in the past, I'm sorry to tell you, but you got funneled into a propaganda outlet for the status quo. And I want to show you something. That even after all of that, you may be like, okay, Mike, that's, why should I believe you? You're just some guy. Well, let's listen to Tim Miller's incredible political analysis.
My thinking, and I feel like I have good credibility on this, because like what I'm about to suggest the Democrats do goes against like what my personal political preference would be. If I could wave a magic wand to make somebody president, I would want like Jared Polis or somebody like that who has no viability as a national figure.
So Tim Miller here says that his ideal candidate is Jared Polis. If you don't know who Jared Polis is the libertarian right Democratic governor of Colorado, who consistently attacks and defangs the Democratic Party in Colorado, makes it weaker, and helps and assists corporate and right-wing forces in the state triumph when they don't have the political numbers to do so. Just this week, Jared Polis decided to pardon one of the main criminals in a conspiracy to rig Colorado's elections in the 2020 election, Tina Peters, who had been sent to prison for 9 years. She tried to rig the 2020 election for Trump. She committed so many crimes that she was found guilty, convicted, and sentenced to prison. One of the few Republicans in the Trump era who have committed crimes to be held accountable, and Jared Polis pardoned her. And the Colorado Democratic Party has formally filed for censure of Jared Polis.
The Central Committee of Colorado's Democratic Party just voted to formally condemn and censure Governor Jared Polis. This comes after Polis's decision to grant clemency to former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. The censure temporarily bans the governor from speaking or participating in party-sponsored events. Tonight, Governor Polis told us he knew that there would be backlash, but says this vote by the Central Committee is political. Your reporter at the Capitol, Sean Boyd, spoke with the governor.
Guys, I can't believe the Central Committee of the Democratic Party is being political.
Before tonight's vote, he told Sean that he looked at other cases of corruption by public officials, and none of those sentences came close to what Peters received, adding,
she committed election fraud, attempted election fraud. That's treason. She should have been fucking dealt with even more harshly. No one should be able to try to rig a 4-year presidential term and then get out.
That her sentence was based too much on what she said and not what she did. It's the same concern that the Court of Appeals raised last month.
Clearly, her free speech, however much we disagree with it.
So Jared Polis is pardoning an election conspiracy theorist who tried to use her power to help Trump win an election he didn't win in Colorado, where he was blown the fuck out. So all that's bad, right? Like, Tim Miller is obviously a moron, right? He supports one of the weakest Democrats who's literally helping Trump criminals get away with their crimes. But maybe he didn't know, right? Maybe Tim Miller, he didn't know that Jared Polis was this much of a moron and a treasonous piece of crap. And now that he knows that Jared Polis is weak on the Republican Party and weak on Trump criminals, he'll change his mind, right? And he'll say, you know what? Jared Polis actually kind of sucks. I was wrong about him. He's just not moderate or centrist on policies. He's actually a danger to the country, and that he's aiding and assisting Trumpian fascism. Let's listen to what Tim Miller has to say now that there's been a pardon from Jared Polis.
For that. But beforehand, the other big news of Friday, which many of you have emailed and tweeted me about, was Jared Polis, governor of Colorado, commuting the sentence of Tina Peters. I understand that many of my colleagues at the Bulwark and many of our listeners are very upset about this commutation. Before I give my thoughts, Bill, why don't you tee off on it?
You know, this sounds like a duck, and it is a duck. I really haven't followed it that closely. I mean, I'm sort of ambivalent. She was bad. She was real.
Okay. You know, here we have two Bush alums. This is why the Democratic Party is weak. I need to reach out to any liberal who may be watching this. Can you stop? Can you please stop elevating Republican fascists from 5 years ago because they're mad, they're no longer in control of the Republican Party, to talk about what the Democratic Party should do? It's why we're in this mess. The Republican Party does maximum constitutional, political, legislative hardball, and the Democratic Party elevates Republicans to speak for them. Can you please stop?
Tried to corrupt the election. She has served several years in jail, and I don't know, there's some plausible people who say the term is kind of longer than it would normally be for this kind of offense. I don't know. I respect Polis. I don't know why. I assume he thinks he's doing the right thing. On the other hand, I don't.
Wow. Can I also say this? The analysis is dumb as shit. Not only are these people worms and fascists who committed war crimes in the Middle East and killed millions, Their analysis is garbage. I didn't read the story. Then shut up. I don't really know anything. Then shut up. I trust Polis. What are we doing here?
Like the signal it might send that it's okay to kind of tamper with elections. It's not as serious a crime as the judge thought it should be in terms of the sentencing. But on the third hand,
in my opinion, attempting to tamper with elections should be a death penalty offense. And I know that a lot of people are going to hear me say that and be like, whoa, Mike, that's crazy. But it's actually not. Democracy exists so that we could share power without having civil war. That is what they are for. Okay. And so when somebody is allowed to interfere with them and tamper with them and corrupt them, that's treason. And it is something that can foment actual violence. Because if you and I cannot gain access to power through legitimate electoral and democratic means, then that means that we have to fight for it, literally. So our elections have to be completely stainless. They must be perfect. They must accurately reflect the will of the people. There must be no untoward influence. That has to be the baseline. Maybe the death penalty is too extreme, but if you tamper with elections, you should never see the light of day again. Everybody should be scared, shitless, who's entrusted with this high office with tampering with this shit. So 9 years, as far as I'm concerned, was too gentle of a punishment, because this isn't some desperate criminal stealing to get, money. This is somebody entrusted with the counting of our votes, trying to rig it for the corrupt Donald Trump. Are you insane?
And I would also say that she did get it's since Trump is busy pardoning every single January and paying off every single January 6th insurrectionist and all the other people who tried to tamper with the election have senior positions in the Trump administration at this point. I feel like Polis commuting the sentence, or I guess giving clemency for the rest of the sentence, is that how it works, is pretty low on the totem pole.
Donald Trump is acting corruptly and stealing our money. So that's why it's good for Democrats to also commute the Trump people and legitimize it, when we all should be raising our voices and rage over Donald Trump stealing our money and pardoning these treasonous criminals, when everybody who's got a lick of sense in their head should be screaming that this is a crime without match in American history. Into the corruption. You want to fucking dilute that by having Democratic governors pardoning? I'm sorry for yelling, but it's so insane that I don't know how else to react. It's boiling out of me. How do these people exist? Why does anybody like this? If you're a liberal, please explain it to me. I need to know. I need to understand you. I want to help you change.
Things that are going to encourage bad behavior.
Well, if you were looking for more outrage than that, I'd turn to Sarah Longwell's Twitter feed, because she is fucking pissed at Polis. My view is informed somewhat by the least popular article I've ever written on thebulwark.com. It was in 2021 regarding my feelings about the sentence of the QAnon shaman released. You might remember him as the fellow with the horns and the paint on the face that stormed the Capitol.
I honestly think Tim Miller might be a racist. I think that that's the only way to understand this. He saw white people going to prison, and there's been very few crimes that I've seen committed that should be punished super harshly. Attacking the Capitol to disrupt the electoral vote count has to be probably a crime of for a fascist cause. That has to be one of the most serious crimes I can imagine you could commit. I put that on the level of being a serial pedophile. He doesn't 41 months? This guy was in the well of the Senate, rooting through senators' fucking private papers on a live stream where they were huddling in some sort of bunker. Are you insane? This guy should have gone to prison for life.
Released. You might remember him.
If this was a black kid that stood up 7-Eleven, Tim Miller would be perfectly comfortable with him going to prison for 40 fucking years, right? But some white guy tries to steal our democracy, and now suddenly 41 months is too harsh. Give me a fucking break.
Since the QAnon shaman released. You might remember him as the fellow with the horns and the paint on the face that stormed the Capitol. Here's what I wrote in 2021. It's kind of crazy. Like, it's kind of crazy that I've been writing for the Bulwark this long. It's like very weird to go back and read something I read 5 years ago. I don't know. It all time flies. Here's what I said. The prison industrial complex is a menace. Conditions in our penitentiaries are horrific. And
oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You're a goddamn Republican, and now suddenly nonviolent. It was a violent riot to steal the election, you psychotic freak. This is the most dangerous kind of violence. It wasn't a violence of a sudden passion. This was planned, coordinated, orchestrated political violence, you fucking loser. What is he saying?
And guidelines that require minimum stays for nonviolent criminals are imprudent and inhumane. None of this stops being true when the guilty party is of the other political tribe, and it feels good to see them locked up.
They're not being locked up because he carried a sign and voted for Trump. No one would say that they should be arrested for that. At least not yet. We're talking about a guy who rioted into the Capitol and was stomping around the Senate floor. What the fuck are you talking about, man? If the shoe was on the other foot and I had rioted to stop Jeb Bush from being elected, Tim Miller would have shot my body and thrown me into a ditch. This guy is a treasonous rat. Get him out of the party immediately.
If we want real justice for January 6th, the government should be cutting the shaman slack and turning its energies to those who are orchestrating the overthrow of our democracy.
Actually, we should be punishing them all. Actually. Every single person that walked into the Capitol, the riot where Donald Trump should be locked, and we should throw away the fucking key. That's number one. And number two, everybody who orchestrated it should be in a tribunal for the defense of our democracy. What the fuck are you saying? We can't go back without making everybody who's involved in the Trump era understand that we will be unflinchingly hostile and harsh. Everybody has to look back on this period and say the de-Trumpification of America was harsh and it was total. They are trying to set up a fucking fascist state. They're gerrymandering every seat so the elections are just a formality. They're trying to seize power. What the hell are you saying, Tim? Get with the program.
I feel the same way about Tina Peters. Tina Peters was sent to prison for 9 years. 9 years?
Tina Peters should never be released.
I just call me the lib now in this one. You guys all the lib.
Suddenly, guys, when a Republican goes to prison, Tim Miller suddenly becomes a lib. Now, when black kids were going to prison for life for selling 1 rock of crack cocaine, Tim didn't mind it, right? When black people are enslaved in America, which they are today, Tim Miller doesn't write any articles.
Listeners who are...
But when a white Republican who was literally rioting to steal the fucking presidential election is convicted of a light sentence, now suddenly Tim Miller finds his prison abolitionist.
Who are bloodthirsty about Tina Peters and want her punished. I guess maybe I'm the softie, because I don't think that anybody should go to prison for 9 years except for violent criminals and people that engaged in like massive fraud, like, you know, SBF or something. People that like ruined lives via fraud and theft. Like, that's it. I don't think that we should send people to prison for 9 years if they did not physically harm or grievously harm someone, and there's concerns about wanting to keep that person away from society. Like, that's just my view. I've always been, even when I was a Republican, a criminal justice softie. It's like me and Rand Paul and Tom Massey now are like all back on the same side. I always was on the Rand Paul side of that debate when it was happening inside in the Republican Party. And I think that a lot of people saw what Polis did, and I think that this is a rational human reaction, an emotional reaction, which is, this sucks. Like, our guys don't fight hard enough. You know, like the Trump side, they're pardoning all of their people. They're trying to jail Jim Comey. Like, they're doing all these bad things.
Yes, Tim, it's bad in a prisoner's dilemma to continually cooperate when the other side is betraying. You are creating a situation where they are rewarded for cheating, so they're going to keep cheating, you dummy. If we want to live in a society with high trust, in order to establish that society, we have to punish betrayers harshly on political crimes. God damn it, this is why we're on the precipice of a Trump fascism. That's why you lost to a fucking game show host.
Things like we should get one too. You know, like what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing. And I understand.
Yes, that's correct, Tim. It's called reciprocal morality. That is the basis of our morality. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. I treat you the way I want to be treated. If I try to fucking rig an election, I should go to prison. I am willing to accept any punishment that I'm dishing out for these people on myself if I were to commit a similar crime. What the fuck are you saying?
Understand that like reaction. I truly do. And I don't obviously think Tina Peters, she was in jail for 4 years. I think that's an appropriate punishment for her crime. I don't think that she should ever be allowed to have a position of public office again. She's a felon. She shouldn't be able to vote again. If there are other penalties, non-prison related, that she should continue to have, I'm totally fine with that. But I don't know. I don't think she's a danger to society, and I understand people's frustrations, but I think it's a very weird thing to be very upset about. And I think that Polis looked at just the facts and like made a judgment based on the facts of what was happening with Tina Peters, not on the broader political dynamic. I will say Jared Polis is disappointing me in one other way, though. So this is not about Jared Polis standum. There is a ballot initiative on in Colorado right now to redistrict. The Colorado rules are such that you have to take it.
Well, I can't believe Jared Polis is pardoning Republicans and not allowing the Democrats to gerrymander Colorado. Wow, I can't believe that your guy, your favorite politician, is weak and feckless, Tim Miller. That's your entire job. That's the Bulwark's entire job. The Bulwark's entire job is to make the Democratic Party weak and feckless, and as you guys have said, into a neocon party. Does anybody have the link of Tim Miller saying that he wants that the neocons took over the Democratic Party? Do you guys know what I mean when they said what Kamala Harris was embracing their advice? I need that clip so bad. I don't have it, but now it's popping into my head. I want to show it. That's the purpose of the Bulwark. The purpose of the Bulwark. Grev, you are a fucking king. You're about to be VIP'd, honestly.
Did the neocons just take over the Democratic Party?
Don't say that.
Yeah, don't say it. But here was the thing about the cheering that I loved. Speaking of Stonewall, but also I think it's amazing when you get 75,000 presumably libs on the ellipse, and she's like, "We're gonna have the most lethal fighting force," and people are like, "Yeah," and she's like, "And we're gonna secure the border," and people are like, "Yeah," and I was just like, "This is," and she's, you know, we are gonna be leaders in the world, and we're not gonna let these guys push us around. And I was like, man, the world's really changed.
Did the neocons just take over the Democratic Party?
Don't say that.
Yeah, don't say it.
This is why you've got to stop with the Bulwark. Please, 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 please. I stream every day on twitch.tv at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. East or 10 a.m. Eastern. And then when I'm done streaming, you can go watch Hassan, or you can go watch a myriad other left-wing creators. Please stop watching the Bulwark, for the love of God. Please. Twitch.tv/central_committee. Watch that instead. Please.
But I will say she is, look, man, she's leaning into, I'm going mainstream. And, you know, whenever she does, there's a couple, you know, price gouging or whatever, I'm like, boo. But like, I also just, whatever.
If you really want to watch a bunch of boomers talking about the news, go watch Democracy Now! For the love of God, this is bad.
To the voters, you have to do it in a regular election, so they couldn't have jammed it through like Virginia did.
And like, did you see what that was? That was them celebrating how Kamala Harris was rushing to be a neocon, how they, Republicans, have taken over the Democratic Party. And what did it result in? It resulted in Donald Trump winning every single swing state. They thought it was going to work. By the way, at the time, I had a prediction. I predicted 49 out of the 50 states. I thought that she was going to hold on to Wisconsin. But unfortunately she didn't. I saw the defeat coming. So these guys give terrible advice. They have no predictive ability, and they're making the Democratic Party more feckless and more incapable of fighting the right. And even when they are confronted with that fact, here is Tim Miller doubling down, for the love of God, Bulwark libs. Stop it with them. Stop it. They're making us lose.
Which backfired anyway. But they have a redistricting ballot initiative that would redistrict the state in 2028 and 2030 that would likely make it a 7-1 state rather than 4-4, which it is right now. The Republicans have not won a statewide election in Colorado since Cory Gardner in, I think, 2014. So been a long time now. And so it's a Democratic state now. And I think that they should do that. And Polis is wishy-washy on that. And I think this is a case where this is a forward-looking fight about our ongoing fight for democracy. And I think that obviously Colorado should play maximum hardball on redistricting. And I hope that Jared reconsiders that and comes out more strongly in support of that ballot initiative, which is on in November. And I encourage all my family and high school friends and listeners to go vote yes on that redistricting bill in November. And I think that is a much more prudent and useful way to fight the bad guys than making sure an old lady stays in jail for 4 more years.
Actually, all of them are necessary, right? And the reason why he calls her an old lady is because he's trying to make an emotional argument. The Greeks would call that pathos, right? He wants you to pity her unthinkingly, right? He wants to take advantage of misogyny, where you remove her agency and treat her as an object of pity. She is a hardened Republican operative who intended to steal the 2020 election for Donald Trump. And to allow her status as an old woman to cause you to pity her while Donald Trump is currently trying to steal the elections again, while Donald Trump is handing out $1.76 billion of stolen treasury money to January 6th police assaulting rioters. That's why Tim Miller is making the Democrats dumber. If you ever wonder why won't the Democrats fight back? It's because people like Tim Miller are invited into the party. And then they exert their ideological influence of, I'm a Republican, I want to help Republicans. And here you go, by the way. I found my prediction for the election that I made on Hassanabi's stream. That is Hassanabi Hassan Piker. Here it is.
Michael from Pennsylvania's prediction is Nevada, Arizona, done deal. North Carolina, Georgia, done deal. PA and Michigan also goes to. I think this is like literally this.
This was Matt Binder of the Majority Report's prediction, where he predicted that Kamala Harris would win all the swing states. I didn't predict that Trump would win all the swing states. If you go back, you'll see that I thought she would hold on to Wisconsin. I thought that Wisconsin would be the one Mid-East state that it would be close. I thought it would be the closest state, and it ended up being the closest state. But Donald Trump ended up winning that. So I was a little bit wrong. I tried to give her some of the benefit of the doubt, and that was foolish. I thought I should have just gone, she's going to get completely swept. Because that was my energy. But it's always hard to be like, somebody's going to get completely swept. So that's my one error. So, it is what it is.
So goes to. I think this is like literally, this is.
I started watching you after the election stream when the normies that joined Hassan's chat yelled at you for your correct analysis. Yes, I know. I appreciate you. Thank you for learning. I actually got everything completely correct on election night. I also called the state of Pennsylvania before everyone else in the entire country. Hassan asked me to make a call. I looked at the data and I said, listen, it's really early, but based on this, she's fucking cooked. So again, being the best at something doesn't get you recognition. That's what you also need to know. Being the best at something isn't enough. You have to have the right social proof. I used the 13 keys. No, you were also right about Rob. Oh yeah, that was on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I was perfectly correct about Rob again. Go see all my cringe chats. You can see what I say in his chat. What did I say here? I rated him yesterday. I said, oh, here it is. I said, it's actually a good thing that Stanford is doing well early. That means that Street didn't bank establishment votes from early mail-in votes. I expect the Rapture to win election day votes. I keep wanting to say Rob I keep wanting to say Rob, and it's Rab. So there you go. There is me perfectly predicting what would happen with that election. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Again, being the best doesn't matter. Not that important. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Finishing our Tim Miller call out.
It's my opinion. I'm sure I'll have overwhelming love and support for it. In the comments.
They love you when they disagree with you, Tim. You know, don't you think? I feel like our community understands that we have different views. I was a hardliner on criminal justice when you were a softie, but I've moved some, honestly, just because I think I've learned more about it.
I'm a hardliner on criminal justice, but then Republicans start getting arrested, and now suddenly I figured out that they all deserve to be pardoned. All the election thieves deserve to be pardoned. Now, the reason why these guys feel this way is because the 2000 election was stolen by George W. Bush. People talk about, you know, there's a conspiracy in liberal circles. In fact, a family member of mine just was texting me today about how the 2020 election was they tried to steal it, and that the 2024 election was stolen by Trump. And you know, it seems like a lot of the libs are going feral. And they are saying that the election was stolen, and there is no evidence of that. The only election that we could definitively say was stolen is the 2000 election. George W. Bush stole the 2000 election with the full cooperation of the Supreme Court and the Republican Party. Al Gore won more votes on election day 2000 in Florida, and he won the popular vote. He should have been president of the United States. George Bush stole the election. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a fact. And 3 of the lawyers who helped George W. Bush steal that election are on the Supreme Court. And they're trying to steal our democracy by allowing racial gerrymandering and overturning the Voting Rights Act of the Civil Rights era. That's the reality.
But I'm sort of in between probably real squishers like you and the real
Sonny Bunch is ready to throw away the key. Okay, Sonny Bunch is the hardliner, criminal justice wise.
So we're going to be talking about the DNC autopsy here, Chad. I put it in my title, I believe, right? So we're going to be watching that. And Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida. So these guys don't want to have punishments. Tim Miller doesn't want to have punishments for people that stole elections because Jeb Bush, the guy that made his career, was the governor. All right, Mike, what do you think about this person's electoral analysis? Oh, not this.
This doesn't make sense either.
These leads are not as large as we've seen in polling. Like in most polls, like it's like Trump has like a double-digit lead on immigration, and then Kamala has a double-digit lead on abortion.
Yeah, both of these. I've seen exit polls with 80% for Medicare all when they all voted against Bernie. Yeah, I mean, that is not that shocking, for the record. That is not that shocking.
I can't believe this Zionist kid was able to, like, I mean, his parents are like major donors to Zionism, but I can't believe like this guy became the like election analyst guy. It's so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me. And he predicted that Kamala Harris would sweep. Hope slop. Did you hear the Chapo episode where they did the thing?
In addition to all this, there's been another kind of like meta debate or discourse over the last couple of weeks regarding figures like Massey, who has been, you know, very stridently critical of the war in Iran and the Trump administration and the U.S. relationship with Israel. Add to that figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who basically ended her political career by breaking with Trump on...
That's not true. I mean, that's just propaganda. That's not even true. It's not factually true. Her political career was she wanted to be part of Republican leadership. She was a whip for Donald Trump and the establishment. She was going around and attacking everybody who didn't want to elect Mike Johnson. She was an attack dog. She was Trump's enforcer. So, and she thought she'd be rewarded by running statewide for Georgia Senate. And Trump said no because she's unelectable in a swing state. And then, so she got L, wasn't a part of Republican Party leadership. Took an L, wasn't allowed to run statewide. She was a huge fucking Israel supporter. And then, and only then, did she start doing this like, oh, Israel's bad, you know, appeal to the podcast right. That's the actual timeline.
Epstein and war with Iran. And then a figure like Tucker Carlson, who's been making a lot of waves on his show by, you know, pretty forthrightly advocating against U.S. policy as it regards the war in Iran and Israel. And
there's this kind of like, you know, there's a thing that I'm noticing happen, which is a lot of people that have been heavily critical of AOC are now trying to inculcate pessimism about AOC when all the evidence is to the contrary, right? Like, they have spent the last 4 or 5 years kind of dogging on AOC, and now that it's very clear that AOC is the person that is clearly breaking through in national politics, and socialist politics are working at levels they didn't work when Bernie was running. When Bernie was running, we were struggling to win these contested primaries against the Israel lobby, right? Now we are. Conditions are actually better than they were in 2020. I know a lot of people thought we were going to break through in 2020. We didn't end up breaking through in 2020. But in the scope of history, not breaking through in 2020, but then breaking through in 2028, that's not that long, okay? Imagine the difference between 1860 and 1868 in your mind. Does that sound like a big difference historically? No. The fact that we got our first crack at the ball in 2020 and we didn't quite make it, 2028 is not that long. And so, like, people that oversold the idea that it's impossible to win, or that, you know, AOC is bad because X, Y, and Z reason, you need to just accept that you were being a little emotional and you were being a little bit irrational. Bernie Sanders almost won. AOC can win, and that would be good. Yes, we should recognize that it doesn't mean if she were to win the presidency that she's going to necessarily be able to single-handedly deliver socialism for all. But get your fucking shit together, man.
I want to bring this up in the context of, like, there's been a debate on the left about whether the people on the left are too credulous towards other people who are otherwise very right-wing figures, like Thomas Massey, a guy, you know, who thinks, I don't know, Medicare and Social Security are unconstitutional or whatever. But, like, do you see these figures being welcomed with open arms on the left? Do you think it matters, or is this just like a stupid debate in the first place?
I mean, I think there are like two levels to this. I mean, we discussed this a little bit, I think, last time both of us were on, in regards to someone like Nick Fuentes. When I hear AOC being critical of the idea of working with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene on Israel, because I guess in contrast, she's much more of an ally to the Palestinians, which is a completely fanciful idea. The idea that she's more honest than Marjorie would be. But like, on the subject of Israel or opposing Israel in this venture, I'm not going to step on anyone's toes and throw myself.
Okay, hold on. Let me back that up and listen one more time.
That she's more honest than Marjorie would be. But like, on the subject of Israel or
being welcomed with open arms on the left, do you think it matters, or is this just like a stupid debate in the first place?
I mean, I think there are like two levels to this. I mean, we discussed this a little bit, I think, last time both of us were on. In regards to someone like Nick Fuentes. When I hear AOC being critical of the idea of working with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene on Israel, because I guess in contrast, she's much more of an ally to the Palestinians, which is a completely fanciful idea.
I mean, it's only fanciful if you don't look at the actual reality, right? Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted consistently for Israel and campaigned strongly for Israel, and tried to get all of us put in prison for the pro-Palestinian encampments. I mean, this is just a fact-free personal antipathy you have for AOC. You could say that AOC should have been louder on Palestine. I agree with you. I think she was not outspoken enough. I think she evinced a defensiveness on this issue, which was bad as far as, like, tactically and from the point of view of leading the left, right? She evinced a defensiveness, but AOC is harassed by literal LaRochites in New York who are insane. Cult members who lie about her positions in order to get attention for their cult. So it gets tiring from that point of view of being harassed. So, but if you look at the actual facts, and this is not even really a question, if the facts matter to you at all, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted to make pro-Palestinian nonprofits illegal. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene's record on Palestine. She doesn't co-sponsor giving humanitarian aid for Gaza. She didn't co-sponsor giving UNRWA emergency funding. She doesn't co-sponsor the Block the Bombs Act when she was in Congress. She didn't sponsor the bill recognizing the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza. She doesn't recognize the Nakba. I mean, obviously, she wasn't in Congress for these ones, right? Because she quit. No, she was. She wasn't for the genocide bill, but not the Nakba bill. That's a new one, right? She literally voted against so many bills. She required other countries to disclose any affiliation to terrorist groups targeting that was targeting Palestine. She voted for the IRHA definition of anti-Semitism. She condemned the presidents of UPenn, Harvard, and MIT for defending the Palestinian encampments. She wants to ban funds for any college that have events that violate the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. She wanted unconditional surrender by Hamas. She wrote the resolution condemning Rashida Tlaib as an anti-Semite for saying from the river to the sea. She literally wrote this bill. What the fuck are you saying? On censuring Representative Rashida Tlaib for promoting false narratives regarding the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel and calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. 188 Democrats voted against that. Okay, I was wrong. She didn't co-sponsor it. She just voted for this one. Sorry. I don't want to be incorrect. She voted to condemn pro-Palestinian college students. There she is. Oh no, that's the other green. There she is. This was a bill that condemning the support of Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations at institutions of higher education, which may lead to the creation of a hostile environment for Jewish students, faculty, and staff. What the fuck are you saying? You know who voted no? AOC. In fact, AOC has the fifth best record on Palestine in all of Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene is 113th. What the fuck are you saying? This is actually just wrong. And by the way, I want to be able to criticize AOC, but you know what I don't like? Lying and misrepresenting reality and creating some false narrative. Marjorie Taylor Greene quit. She had the opportunity to fight the Zionists and she quit. AOC just went and campaigned in Philadelphia for the most left-wing representative in America when he's sworn in January of next year, Chris of the Rapture. Chris Rapp. What the hell are you talking about?
The idea that she's more honest than Marjorie would be. But like on the subject of Israel or opposing Israel in this venture, I'm not going to step on anyone's toes and throw myself and be like, oh, we shouldn't listen to these people, or like we should like completely
kind of cordon them off and
everything.
Be like, oh, like everything they says is bad and untrustworthy, and like by extension makes you bad and untrustworthy because you say things that sound similar to what they're talking about.
Okay, nobody's saying that. I mean, if they are, they're a Zionist. Okay, if they want to criticize Israel, go for it. But I'm not going to fucking pretend Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson are on our side. They were both mega Zionists for years and years and years and years. And now that it's popularly bad, they're trying to fake when they have no power. They're just trying to grift off of sentiment of the masses. Give me a break, man.
Which is that like
exactly like if Marjorie Taylor Greene like says something about Israel's treatment of Palestinians, or Tucker Carlson goes and visits Palestinians in the hospital, or speaks to Palestinian Christians about the oppression they're facing, I am not going to publicly object to that sort of thing.
I don't.
The kind of objection
is that what they're doing? Is AOC doing that? Is she objecting to that? I don't think that's true. I think what she said is we shouldn't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's a joke, which is completely normal for a politician to say about another politician.
I would draw is like going much further than that, and then arguing that these people are now allies in your anti-imperialism, which I think is completely the wrong move that I see.
Correct. I agree
certain
with that.
People engaged in, but not enough to the degree that like I would consider it a national issue. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The dumbest people online are saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene is an ally in being anti-imperialism. She likes the empire. She's just saying that Israel is bad for the empire. That's different than being anti-empire. That's different than somebody who wants to substantially reduce America's footprint abroad. She's just doing what people did with the Iraq War, what Trump did with the Iraq War, which is see that it's unpopular and go, hey, I think this is it's dumb, but then immediately get into office and put us into a war with Iran. So what Donald Trump was saying, I think the Iraq War was stupid, and pantomiming as anti-war, I think all of us can now look at that and say, hey, right-wingers that pantomime as anti-war are lying. And that's what's happening. So learn the lesson of Trump. These people are not anti-war.
Like last year, she did that whole image where she draped the Statue of Liberty in a niqab. Like Tucker Carlson called Arabs monkeys not too long ago. I think all of these people still hold a genuine, unadulterated hatred and contempt for Arabs and Muslims.
But you don't think they're better than AOC? You think AOC is not better than them? Okay.
Outside of a context in which...
By the way, it's weird to say AOC. Bernie Sanders is right there. Why don't you trash Bernie? Bernie's worse than AOC on Israel. I didn't see Bernie's decrepit ass in fucking Philadelphia campaigning for Chris. So what the fuck are you saying? Why aren't you going after Bernie? I mean, Bernie Sanders will never be president, so I guess he's not relevant anymore.
America is giving all of this money and power to a foreign nation. I would advise people not to engage with that, but I really don't think, I don't know. I also think maybe my hatred of AOC is clouding my judgment a little bit.
Yeah, I think your hatred of AOC is incredibly counterproductive for the Palestinian cause. You can look at AOC and say she is a politician and she has been excessively defensive when no other politician in America would say a mum word about genocide, except for maybe 4 people, which she's all the closest allies of. Maybe we should like rein it the fuck in.
I mean, like, but this is the thing is like, if you put yourself in a situation where Marjorie Taylor Greene can be compared favorably to you on the issue of Palestine, then like,
guys, this is not analysis, man. This is not analysis. This is just vibes, dude. You're just going off of vibes. You're just, this is where we get into, this is what's known as groupthink. They're socially signaling to each other. They're not making an argument. Now, you could say AOC has disappointed you in a million different ways. That's totally fine, but you're not actually making any argument. I think the argument they're going to try to say is the Marjorie Taylor Greene bill that would strip funding for the Iron Dome. Well, here's the problem with that argument. The Marjorie Taylor Greene amendment that stripped Iron Dome funding, I yelled at AOC myself. If you go and look at her tweet defending defensive weapons, which she is now, she said, I don't agree with that anymore. I'm against giving Israel anything, right? So she's changed in our direction. She listened to what I said at the time and has now come in our direction on that position. That was previously wrong. Her previously bad position, she no longer holds it, okay? We all yelled at her. She changed her mind, meaning we have influence over AOC. The problem with that amendment, and to find it, I have to go to, let's see, what bill, what amendment was that? It's like Iron, there it is. Okay. Iron Dome. I think it's not this one. It's this one. Iron Dome funding. Okay. Here we go. Iron Dome funding. Rashida Tlaib voted against it. Ilhan Omar voted against it. Dila Ramirez and Summer Lee were not elected yet, so they couldn't vote against it. AOC voted. Okay, that's the old one. That's the old one where she voted present and people get mad on that one. That one passed with 97% of Congress. There was like 2 people that voted no and AOC voted present. That was it. What was the bill? Fuck. I need to like, what was 2024? Oh, here it is. Okay, there it is. Jesus. It was the very first thing. Okay. Cut $500 million for Israeli missile defense programs. Okay. AOC voted no. Summer Lee voted yes. Ilhan Omar voted yes. Rashida Tlaib voted yes. Al Green voted yes. And Marjorie Taylor Greene voted yes. Okay. Then what's very funny is there was a defense authorization bill that included funding for Israel and anti-Gaza provisions. The 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. We go down to our friend Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're going to find something. This isn't the one. Fuck. Where is it? She voted for the bill. They don't have the, oh, there it is. No, this isn't it. Fuck. Where is it? Marjorie Taylor Greene ended up voting for, here she is voting to sanction the ICC for the Netanyahu warrant. Here she is voting to ban anti-BDS product legislation that rejects the state of Palestine's existence. Allowing Trump to revoke nonprofit tax status for pro-Palestinian organizations. I'd have to find it. But the point is that Marjorie Taylor Greene literally wanted to ban BDS.
I'm sorry, like that's on.
This is the full bill. Okay, thank you so much, Sniff and Jay. Live streaming chat, looking for stuff sometimes takes a second. Where was the voting? Oh, she actually voted against this bill. Wow, that's the first one she voted against. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene. In her credit, she also joined AOC on this bill and voted nay. Okay, so that is true. So this is the first Israel and military defense funding bill she voted nay on. She voted with all the Democrats. There were 3 Republicans who voted against it. I think it was Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and who was the third? Tim Burchett. Tim Burchett voted no. Okay. And 5 Democrats voted yes. Jared Golden, Marie Grustamp Perez, Adam Gray, Vicente Gonzalez, and Donald Davis. Let's finish this, and then we'll move on to the DNC autopsy report.
That's on you. And like what she did at the DNC, like that's gonna fucking haunt her, and as well it should. But like contrapoint.
Okay, so I don't think that makes sense, right? Like AOC endorsed Kamala Harris, but so did every single other Democratic politician, with the exception of Rashida Tlaib, who led a get out the vote effort anyway in Michigan for the Democratic slate run by UAW. So if you're wanting to have a politician that's a Democrat who did endorse the Democratic nominee against Trump, then there is nobody. Marjorie Taylor Greene literally campaigned for Donald Trump. Like, don't you think that's a little bit worse?
This was on Brianna Joy Gray's show a while ago, and she was asked, is there anyone that you wouldn't support, like, against Donald Trump? Is there any, like, line you wouldn't cross? And she was like, God, I don't know. Like, I would sell my soul to the devil himself. Or, like, it's hard to imagine things I wouldn't do to, like, defeat Donald Trump or his things. And I'm like, I'm going to apply that here. If someone with Tucker Carlson's audience is making this case in the way that he's doing, in a way that no one most people in the liberal media won't touch with a 10-foot pole, then, like, yeah, I'll make I'll temporarily nod my cap to Satan himself.
I think one of the problems that I have here is this is totally fine for us on the left to strategically use Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene to advance our political ends, right? That's totally appropriate. But if AOC is like, fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's totally fine as long as it doesn't interrupt with our political ends. And by the way, we should be biased in favor of the people that are carrying the torch of our political demands. And this is where, like, being very, very disciplined comes in, right? Where I am not an influencer in the same sense as other content creators. I am a political ideologue. I want you guys to understand that. My number one goal is not to grow my channel as much as I can. My goal is to achieve political ends. That's what I want to do. I want Medicare for all. I want a Green New Deal. I want all of those policies that we talk about to happen. And I am laser focused on that objective. I am not trying to grow my channel to the maximum possible degree. I hope you guys know that. I bring on all these politicians and I give them money out of my pocket. A lot of money out of my own pocket. The money that you guys give me, a large percentage of it goes to the left. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not kidding. I give a lot of money to various left-wing causes and candidates. That's my goal. Now, AOC is very clearly the person who has got the highest likelihood of advancing my political goals. There's nobody else that's a national figure that could plausibly get the White House in 2026. Today, May 21st, 2026, there is no one else. And so, obviously, I'm not going to support her no matter what, because what she supports on the positions is why I'm supporting her. However, if we are going to accomplish what we want to do, constrain Israel, Green New Deal, Medicare for all, a myriad other policies and programs, including fighting back against the Republicans, like expanding the Supreme Court or constitutional reforms, etc., all those go to AOC. AOC is the avatar for all of them. How do I know that? Why do I say that? Because that's her track record. She has been voting for those policies since 2019. I can look it up. AOC votes the way I want her to vote 97% of the time. There is no one else that could be president of the United States that's anywhere close. And because I'm a political ideologue, because I care about the policies happening, and that's the only thing I care about, to be completely honest with you. I am not doing this to be as famous as I can. I'm not doing this to make as much money as I can. I want to change the world. That's why I do this. That's literally why. I want to be a footnote in the history books as part of the movement that made this happen. Okay? I want to be a mention in the biography of Claire Valdez when she becomes fucking senator or whatever. Okay? That's the most narcissism I've got. Okay? That's what I imagine is the height of my long-term relevance to the world. I want to be a part of the movement that changes the world. That's what I want. And AOC, with all her flaws, is the only opportunity we have. And it's a harsh reality, but that's my judgment. Our movement will rise and fall with how successful she is in the next 2 years. I want to make her as good as possible. I'm not going to cover up her crimes. I'm not going to smooth over her mistakes. I'm going to give my commentary and analysis. I'm not going to shade the truth, but I'm not going to spend my time trashing her. I'm not going to spend my time throwing shit on her. I'm not going to spend my time doing these performative declarations that she's bad, because it's foolish and counterproductive for my goals of changing the world. So I will criticize her as a comrade, because that's what she has demonstrated herself to be. Now, I want her to be more ambitious. I want her to push harder. And if you don't agree with me, then you are fucking delusional. And you either don't know where politics is in America today, or you are, quite frankly, foolish. A lot of the criticism about AOC is her unforced errors and communications. Bernie is more disciplined. No, he's not. You're objectively wrong on all those. In fact, he's way worse on everything. He just gets the benefit of the doubt a lot more than she does. He's worse than her on everything. Literally. There isn't one issue that Bernie is better than AOC on. Not one. You just give him the benefit of the doubt because he's old. But that's not a measurement of power. That's not a measurement of change. She's a young woman, so you judge her like she's a fellow poster, as opposed to the most important left-wing politician in America today, bar none. Bernie just has the white, old, and man buffs attached. Exactly. That's what I'm asking you to fucking get a grip. I mean, just look at these bills that she's tried to pass. Recognize the Nakba. Only 6% of Democrats agree with that. Ultra-millionaire tax. College for all. Block the Bombs Act. Medicare for all. Raise the minimum wage to $17 an hour. Like, issue after issue after issue. It's just nothing but green. And again, all this stuff, a lot of her votes, she's in the minority. She voted against praising Charlie Kirk. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to make it a crime to criticize Charlie Kirk. Who is the sponsor of the Charlie Kirk bill? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Praise Charlie Kirk.
Or a figure like Tucker Carlson, even if it is opportunistic on their part, because why aren't all the good people who we're supposed to support, why aren't they saying the same fucking thing?
No, there's this.
What aren't they saying that they are saying? What is AOC not saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson are saying? Please be specific.
Total moral failure on the part of the Democrats here to properly
moralizing
align
again, and you're also drawing you're obfuscating reality. You're making AOC the representative of all Democrats, which she's not. She is a representative of a faction that is in bloody combat for the control of the Democratic Party, and her faction is the pro-Palestinian faction.
Themselves with basic
the conscience of the country and the world.
Yeah, and you can allow yourself to be outflanked by these total intellectual dullards.
How did they outflank her? Be specific.
Being opportunistic, and also like in regards to not falling hook, line, and sinker for this, I think many of them are just angling to back Vance in 2028 against someone who's going to completely fall
yeah, exactly.
So like that's my thing.
Like here's the thing: giving Bernie the benefit of the doubt and not giving it to AOC is counterproductive to our movement, right? I think we should be trashing Bernie Sanders and going, AOC is so much better on this than Bernie. Why is Bernie so far behind AOC? AOC is the real leader of the movement now. You see how that's useful? Bernie Sanders is not contending for power anymore. The only reason I don't do that is because people like Bernie, and I feel there's no reason whatsoever to trash Bernie, because he's going to help me push new people. And he's done a good job of supporting people who are better than him on his policies. So as long as he keeps supporting people that are better than him on his policies, then the fact that he's still a Zionist at his heart of hearts, he keeps supporting anti-Zionists. So I give him the benefit of the doubt for his bad opinions, because he's an old Jewish man So he doesn't hate Israel at the same level I do. I give him the benefit of the doubt because he's supporting the people that hate Israel like I do. And so it's not useful for me to spend my time trashing him. I'm with her, but the stats for the ridiculous criticism that stem from her live commutation of unforced errors that cause Chapo to be skeptical. No, see, what happens is you generate unforced errors by socially interpreting what she says in a negative way. As a person who is on the spectrum, I have seen this type of shit happen so many times that I can see when it's happening. This is the meme of, you know, where there's like the sexy guy and then there's the fat guy in the cubicle. And the one is like, oh, you're so funny versus HR. That's the same thing with AOC. It is AOC says a thing and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it took you so long to say this, you fucking bitch. Blah, 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 blah. What took you so long? You're such a sellout. Blah, 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 blah. Marjorie Taylor Greene says the same thing and you're like, oh my God, my queen. And it's like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Don't go completely in that direction. Don't go and congratulate MTG for all she's done. But I am not going to like try to do a purity test on any kind of criticism of Israel anywhere ever.
Except that happens to AOC every day. What the fuck are you saying? You guys were purity testing her when she went to the a DSA meeting in New York and conceded all the fucking left caucus's demands about funding for Israel. You guys immediately purity tested her. You're lying. You immediately did. I was there. I pissed off a lot of people. A lot of people think I'm making some sort of like more right-wing turn, but I actually am not. I'm making the exact same arguments I did last year. I haven't changed at all. Not even a little bit. All that's happened is I've seen AOC get better on the issues, and so I've praised her for it. I'm looking ahead 6 or 18 months, and I'm seeing the presidential election, and I realize that she's got to be the most she's going to be the most pro-Palestinian presidential candidate. And so I am giving her the benefit of the doubt she deserves.
I will also say one thing that's frustrating about this discourse is that I don't see any segment of the left that is trying to enter into electoral coalition with the far right. I mean, I see people like reacting favorably to Tucker saying XYZ or Marjorie Taylor Greene saying XYZ. But in reality, there is a large segment of the left that is advocating for electoral coalition with the Democratic Party and trying to bring people into the Democratic Party. And I think that that is what is.
We are in Democratic primaries, my friend, where we are electing pro-Palestinian candidates to change the Democratic Party position on this. The Democratic Party is a vessel that we are entering in order to steal their electoral spot on the ballot. What are you saying? Who is on the left is campaigning for anti-Israel candidates right now?
Worthy of suspicion on the issue of foreign policy, right? It's like we've actually seen how that has neutralized critique on anti-imperialism, and that has demobilized a lot of people. And there's a real tension around how much credibility the Democratic Party and its institutions deserve. So I see the discourse as being displaced a bit.
I think one of the problems that's happened is a lot of the people that after 2020, they started to declare the left can never win and it's overdetermined and, you know, it's pointless to try and all this other shit. They got real in their feels. You know, they fell in love with the Bernie Sanders campaign, and when it failed, they weren't mature enough to realize that, hey, the country wasn't quite ready yet. We were close. Instead, they have this fucking emotional doomer fucking perspective, and they've turned against all the people that are trying to carry on the legacy of Bernie in a totally counterproductive and doomer mentality. The only place for pro-Palestinian politics in America is the left-wing Democratic politicians. I'm sorry that's true, but it's true. Okay? Graham Plattner, AOC, Chris Robb, Claire Valdez, that is the only place, Oliver Larkin, that is the only place in this country where the pro-Palestinian movement can change American policy. That is the only place. That's it. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson are a mirage. They are fucking content creator grifters. They are not a political movement. Thomas Massey was defeated in the Republican Party. All of the heterodox on Israel politicians in the Republican Party are being eliminated. We, the heterodox on Palestine politicians, just won in Philadelphia. That is the truth. You've got to get your shit together, guys. You really got to get it together because it's fucking wrong. And yes, if the Democratic Party ends up nominating Gavin Newsom and it becomes some sort of Zionist party and it's fucking terrible, I'll be here too saying don't vote for them. Just like I did with Kamala Harris. If it turns out that we have a Zionist, exterminationist Democratic Party and we lose the factional fight, then I'll be right with you saying fuck the Democrats. And I'll try to do what they're doing in the UK and start a new party, a new left-wing party. I'll be with you 100%. But in the middle of the factional fight, I'm going to fight the factional fight, especially when it seems like we have the advantage. Or at least we have a good chance, because the alternative is nothing. The alternative is surrendering the Democratic Party to the Zionists, and the Republican Party is Zionist, so it's Zionist on Zionist. I'm fighting in the only front that has any positive movement. Does it mean we're going to break through? Does it guarantee we're going to win? No. There's no guarantees. Maybe AOC will cave. Maybe AOC will be defeated. But it's the only opportunity we have.
And the question of credibility going in the opposite direction, because I think there is a real basis by which to actually question what we're hearing from people like AOC and also people like Zohran Mamdani sometimes when he's talking about, you know, he's kind of like signaling favorability towards Palestine or having like a Nakba video during Nakba Day, but then also coming out with all of these like quite very harmful statements in response to like obvious propaganda about the you know, capture of some axis of resistance leader, which is not to say that those debates aren't worth having, but the idea that there's like some credulity happening where segments of the left are being lulled by by what the Republican Party is doing, when in reality, like there is that question of idealism versus pragmatism happening in terms of the left's very complicated relationship with the Democratic Party.
Right.
Whereas I think the people who are watching Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene are actually in a position of saying like, well, I mean, it's not like the Democrats are advancing any kind of real anti-imperialism. They seem even more hawkish on China than Trump is himself. So it might be worth like stepping back and reconsidering like, what's our relationship to this party system at all?
Right. Dylan, that is what I was going to say is it's particularly infuriating to hear AOC talk about this at all. All of this right now, this is just post. All of this is just post. This is just like a guy you follow.
The reason why it's just posts is because Marjorie Taylor Greene quit rather than fight the Zionists, and AOC is in Congress writing bills for Palestinians. You understand the difference? AOC is still fighting and winning against the Zionists, which she just defeated in Philadelphia, right? And Marjorie Taylor Greene surrendered.
Goes, oh, Tucker talked about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about this. No one is proposing that we create some new merger organization where it's PSL merged with like Tucker's.
See, the problem is that the discourse matters, right? And of course, Chapo is going to deny the discourse matters because it means they have no responsibility, right? They have no responsibility to, and listen, I'm harshly criticizing them because they're dead wrong on this point. They're dead wrong on AOC, and I'm correct, and I'm telling you why they're dead wrong. And people are going to be mad at me for taking this position, by the way. They're going to think that I'm being a sellout or some shit for this. And the reality is AOC gives me nothing. She doesn't follow me anymore. She doesn't support my stream. I'm not getting any retweets from AOC. I'm doing this because I calculate this is the right thing to do for the pro-Palestinian left to win. I'm not a AOC simp. I don't agree with everything she does. When she does dumb shit, I defend her or I attack her for being dumb. I have a long track record of that.
Weird pouch dip company. Like, no one is there is no actual thing here being proposed.
Wait, Felix, I didn't tell you about the ad read I'm doing later in the show.
but for AOC herself to do that, okay, who has more blood on their hands? Tucker Carlson or Joe fucking Biden?
Right.
I am not
is Joe Biden running for, I mean, the answer is they're the same. I mean, obviously Joe Biden is the president and he's the genocidal maniac who deserves to be in fucking prison, but he's irrelevant now. Everybody hates him. Tucker Carlson is getting promoted by you guys and he's electorally relevant and he is a plausible Republican candidate for president. So Joe Biden is a corpse And Tucker Carlson was representing a faction of the far right.
I think Tucker is a good guy. He seems like a piece of shit as a guy. And the idea that he didn't spend most of his adult life as a neocon is fucking hysterical.
And he also supports Trump. He supported Trump every step of the way, including in 2024.
He is an opportunist, but because of the complete fecklessness and ethnic supremacism of the Democratic Party, he is easily able to outflank them on this. And he, of all people, has no fucking leg to stand on. What was the pragmatic outcome of her?
AOC told people to stop asking Biden to drop out. I said she was wrong. I was one of the first people to say Biden should drop out. Everybody used to attack me that it was impossible. I was yelling at the Pod Save guys that Biden should drop out. If you're talking about Biden, there's no one more correct than me. As a double hater, I have a suggestion. He should drop. Why are all my old posts not showing likes? This is so fucking weird. I guess they're all broken now. They all don't work anymore. Anyway, I said, as a double hater, I have a suggestion. He should drop out. Here I am replying to Dan Pfeiffer, Pod Save America guy. As a double hater, I have a suggestion. He should drop out. He should be replaced by a candidate that will oppose Israel's genocide, support actual court reform to unpack the Supreme Court, and will actually promise real policy outcomes that young people demand. Imagine a world where the Democrats listen to me. Imagine a world where I had the influence of somebody like Dan Pfeiffer. Do you think we would be in a better position or a worse position? This was November 5th, 2023. If Joe Biden had dropped out the moment I said, they could have had a full Democratic primary. People who think war casualties numbered in the thousands is a genocide are hyperbole addicts who have useless opinions. Oh, he should drop out and be replaced by a candidate who supports all the things you personally support? Yep, I'm one of the voters that isn't sold on him. You are, so you get ignored. Sorry, that's politics. God, I'm so fucking good at this. Risk alienating everybody else by appealing to the demographic that votes least in elections. Yes, if you want to win, you have to have the people that don't always show up. That's why Donald Trump is president, because he did that. 8 years into the MAGA era, and Democrats haven't learned a damn thing. Gan, this guy's smart. What alternative has the name recognition, the money, and the backing of the party establishment that Biden has? Instead of spending the democracy in America thoughts and prayers, let's stop Trump and deal with details later. Name recognition for the presidential candidate. People are legitimately stupid. A contentious primary where Dems fight each other while the GOP's base gathers around Trump sounds like fun. We will end up with more conservative actions in this country than less. That would have pumped up the base and made everybody excited and they would have arrived at the best policies because of selection of elections. Elections are good, actually. They're not bad, you fucking idiot. Mike, if all it took to win elections was to have better positions, it would be a lot simpler. Maybe we'd stop being a political commentary when your takes are shallow and childlike. My takes are completely correct and predicted what would happen 7 months later.
And Bernie disgracing themselves as they did for the entirety of the Biden administration. Did it stop Trump? It goes all the way back to the fundamental thing with.
Okay, the argument is that AOC and Bernie Sanders should not have done the strategy where they were the strongest warriors for Biden and supported him to try to push the political policies to the left. And I'm going to have to say this. I was a skeptic of this idea, and it didn't work. But the places where Bernie and AOC worked with Biden was where the policies were the best, like the National Labor Relations Board, like the fact that they pressured him on a whole bunch of number of issues to make it better, especially in the administrative state. But overall, I agree. I think that associating with Biden damaged their brand. I think the strategy of appealing damaged their brand. But who gives a fuck? It's over now.
Counterpoints again. Oh, you people are such fucking assholes because you didn't do my practical plan that didn't work. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's not what she's saying. What are you saying? This is just grievances. This is not even like an argument. These are just various online grievances. They're not even making a political argument. This is actually really bad. Why are they so fucking unhinged against AOC? What the fuck? Why are you associating AOC with your dumb internet beefs?
Oh, okay. Let me know when it fucking works, asshole.
And by the way, if you are concerned about sort of mush-headed American leftists being sort of, or voters in general being seduced by the, siren call of far-right political figures taking a stridently anti-Zionist line. Well, an easy way to foreclose that opportunity or to sort of shut down that lane being opened up too widely is to, I don't know, can you think of anything that could be done to like maybe take advantage of it yourself? Like they're filling a huge gap that is now opening up on the right, but like a much, much bigger lane of voters and sentiment exists on the liberal left spectrum in America that is being actively foreclosed upon right now due, I'm sorry, to the good efforts of people like AOC, who with her comments at the DNC was attempting to defuse rather than heighten the stakes of this very important issue.
No, that would require them to admit that they were wrong about something, and that it happens with Democrats, once every 2-3 years individually? No, they have to keep going to what Felix was talking about, the practical plan that, it could have worked, but really didn't work. No. And you could see, there is excitement for people in the Democratic Party who at the very least give rhetorical support to the Palestinian cause and are willing to call out the insanity for what it is. As much as we were critical of Zohran Mamdani, and I have those critiques as well, when he stands on that debate stage or the rest of the Democratic candidates are all talking about how they're going to visit Israel first thing.
Okay. I have to say that, listen, I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'm going to say it the way that I'm going to say it. AOC can't stand on a stage with Zionists and debate them right now because there's no campaign going on, but she will. Like you understand that, right? AOC is not currently running for president because it's 2026 and the presidential campaign has not started yet. So she can't do what Zohran Mamdani did because Zohran Mamdani was running for mayor. I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but there is something known as chronological time. Okay, so we're in the period of time before the presidential campaign has begun. So there's no AOC standing next to Gavin Newsom and calling him a Zionist because they're not running for president yet. So what AOC is doing is she's going around the country and she's endorsing various candidates to help support the pro-Palestinian cause, right? Now, I want her to do it more. My advice for AOC is do it more, okay? I want her to endorse more, right? That's my criticism of AOC. She's not doing enough. She needs to do more campaigning. She needs to endorse Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. She needs to endorse Claire Valdez in New York. She needs to endorse, who else should she endorse, chat? Who the fuck else should she endorse? I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh my God, Oliver Larkin. She needs to endorse Francesca Hung in Wisconsin. She needs to endorse Saikot or Shoykot. Get out there and do more. There's a whole bunch of other people running all around the country. I don't want to list everyone. But my criticism of AOC is she needs to do more political work right now to elect more pro-Palestinian representatives to Congress so she could put the fear of God into all the Zionists in the Democratic Party. That's where our effort should be on the left. Our effort should be right now in the primary period to scare every Democratic primary fucking candidate that they better not be pro-Israel or they'll fucking lose. That should be our mission. Not flirting and playing footsie with Marjorie Taylor Greene and fucking dipshit Tucker Carlson, which will have no relevance for years until they inevitably endorse some Republican fascist. So yes, AOC will stand on the debate stage with Gavin Newsom and call him a Zionist and say he supports Israel's weapons. And and if she does it, she'll lose the primary. But it's not happening yet because she's not running for president yet because it's not that time yet. So if you like Zohran Mamdani yelling at Andrew Cuomo, you have to understand that happened because he was running for mayor. That was a campaign. And AOC will be our avatar in a year. So can you, for the love of God, get your shit together and understand that that's coming?
And then Zoran is like, I'm not going to do that. That goes very far with people. People are willing to entertain this. I'm not overly familiar with the platform of...
Guys, are you fucking okay? You're political commentators. There's not supposed to just be some rando. You make money talking about politics. What are you doing? What are you saying? You're locked the fuck in.
Abdullah Sayed out in Michigan. But I have to imagine that, I mean, the pro-Palestine messaging that I'm seeing around his campaign is at least part of the reason why his campaign is doing so well against the freaks that he is up against who talk about how they dream of Israel. Like, this is 100%.
Oh, brother. Bro, are you just like a casual fan of politics, or are you like actually, do you have a narrative of power? Do you have like a concept of taking power in this country? Like, what the fuck are we saying? Are we floating on our Twitter timeline, or do we have an idea of what to do?
A dying ideology. And absolutely, there are Democrats.
Why are you coping? Why the fuck are you coping? Zionism is not dying yet. I want it to die. I see a vulnerability. But Zionism was like Smaug. We found the hole in his fucking armor, right? We see the notch where we need to aim the black arrow. But they just smoked Thomas Massey with $50 fucking billion, bro. I want Israel destroyed. I see the opportunity to destroy Israel, but it's going to take a fucking golden shot to take it out. And if we hit the mark, we will. But it is not destroyed. The reputation is bad currently. You can't imagine events occurring that could change that. They have a state. They have institutional structures that crisscross this nation. They exercise power in the legislatures of all 50 states. Like, what are you saying? Grow the fuck up! Jesus! Holy my God! We are in so much trouble, man. Holy shit. God, I hope we get lucky. Holy fucking hell.
Who could feasibly, rhetorically, opportunistically take advantage to it, but they are allergic to the idea of even short-term victory, where they can lie to people after the fact. It boggles my mind sometimes, really.
What I will say is that the Democrats are pretty adept, even if you have to drag them kicking and screaming, at taking popular sentiment and turning it into some kind of like rhetorical reform or something. We're going to recognize the humanity. We're going to acknowledge the suffering.
Yeah, hence the Jake Sullivan comments.
The kinds of responses that we saw after BLM, like they can assimilate critique. I think what's missing though is being able to take that the fact that there is this constituency that has been mobilized around this issue and actually tie it into a broader anti-imperialism as part of your worldview, right? Like there is a problem where the Democrats are like, we're not going to.
Yeah, I think part of the problem with this kind of like soft Demosoc influencer is so much of it is brand building moralism, and there's not a connection to a broader movement, right? I mean, at least when these guys were like Bernie-crats, they were part of some sort of political thing that had forward momentum. But now you're not even that. It's like moralizing for your brand and trying to like distinguishing yourself from AOC. To them, AOC is a fellow millennial leftist poster. That's literally how they must think of it. She is a competing brand. Like, what are you saying, man?
Talk. And politicians more broadly, we're not going to talk about foreign policy because that's an issue people don't care about. It doesn't affect their lives and it's too divisive, right? And so like you have these like really banal statements when AOC goes to Munich and is like giving her foreign policy platform. And it's just like, we're just going to do it like socialistly and like for the working class and like against authority.
Bro, she literally said that the international regime is a fucking fraud and we're going to make it real, which is the left-wing position. But she didn't say it like an antisocial weirdo on Twitter, so they can't read between the fucking lines.
Authoritarianism or whatever. And like, that is not a compelling story for people. That's not going to explain why the price of gas has gone up like $1.
Guys, when you're at the Munich convention arguing in favor of containing the United States through international law, you're not arguing that in a way that the dumb fucking slop merchant Treatler-right American is gonna listen to. Yeah, they're not listening to the Munich convention. I'm sorry, the Munich conference, whatever the fuck it's called. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Jesus Christ.
And a half in the past 6 weeks. It's not going to explain why their food is going to get more expensive and why we keep doing all of this shit, right? There's not like a raising awareness. Like we actually need people to understand what the United States is doing out in the world and all of the ways in which we are colossally fucking everyone else and ourselves. And if no one is willing to actually tell that story, then embracing the Palestinian cause is just going to stay at the level of an assimilated critique that doesn't actually go anywhere.
I have a genuine question. For people here who are a bit older than I am. When was the last time there was a major candidate who openly said that American foreign policy decisions were not just wrong or a mistake, but like actually morally decrepit, like morally?
See, the thing is, when you make content for like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, you have the obligation to like look that up before you do the podcast.
Really evil, their whole American foreign policy outlook. Like, when was that?
Well, Seamus, I'm only about a year or two older than you, so I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah, I was actually born in 2015.
Fuck, I mean, I can't remember one. Oh, is it maybe Barry Goldwater, but from the right?
Yeah. The last thing I even remember, like even kind of approaching that, was Robert Byrd, who Chapo All-Star Robert Byrd.
The West Virginia senator?
Yeah, the guy who said I've met a lot of white N-words on Meet the Press, and
he was a former member of the Ku Klux Klan as well.
Yeah, he was a former member of the Klan.
Wait. Did he say like white and then not just W?
Well, like they asked him about being in the Klan, and he was like, "Well, you know, there are white N-words," and he thought that was fire. He was like, "I've closed the book on that one." Robert Byrd did one of my favorite things that anyone has ever done in modern politics. He had a bunch of like National Merit Society, like, you know, brown noser overachiever students coming to his office once. And this was in like, 2002 or some shit. And he went, "If I could give you any piece of advice, do not get involved with the Klan." And it's like, yeah, I'm sure they were going to do that.
It's going to take up every Sunday. You're not gonna have any time.
Way too much of a commitment of my time and money.
But is there anything ever like that, Tony Benn speech in Parliament?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Nothing quite like that I can recall within my lifetime. Certainly not.
There was this pretty obscure senator from New England. He did a speech right before we invaded the Iraq War. Let me see if you guys could, if we could bring him up. You may not have heard of him. His name is Bernie Sanders. He's kind of obscure.
Nice for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my friend from New Jersey for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I don't think any member of this body disagrees that Saddam Hussein is a tyrant, a murderer, and a man who has started 2 wars. He is clearly someone who cannot be trusted or believed. The question, Mr. Speaker, is not whether we like Saddam Hussein or not. The question is whether he represents an imminent threat to the American people and whether a unilateral American invasion of Iraq will do more harm than good. Mr. Speaker, the front page of the Washington Post today reported that all relevant U.S. intelligence agencies now say, despite what we have heard from the White House, that, quote, Saddam Hussein is unlikely to initiate a chemical or biological attack against the United States, end quote. Even more importantly, our intelligence agencies say that should Saddam conclude that a U.S.
And like, anyway, my general take of like, hey, you know, what the fuck are we saying? I don't know what else to say at this point. It's like, it's obviously not breaking through. The argument that I'm making is obviously not breaking through. So why don't you guys like help me brainstorm? Because like, obviously appealing to like logic, intelligence, or like is not breaking through. So what's a better way to break that through? You know, I guess I could wait 9 months until AOC is actually on the debate stage and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that was so based," which she like yells at Gavin Newsom, and then all of it, you know, she starts going viral. And then everybody starts joining in and going like, you know, AOC has really sharpened her rhetoric over the last 9 months. Like, it's amazing. To like ride her on the way down. And then when she starts going viral for, you know, saying shit against Gavin Newsom, we ride her on the way up. You're just always right too early. It's your cross to bear. I'm sorry, but it's not that hard. Jesus. They're just going to be forced by the tide. You're not going to break through a decade of parasocial hate arguments. I mean, it is what it is. I saved this And she'll be like, we shouldn't give any money to Israel. No more money for wars, blah, blah, blah. People will be like, yeah, based. Oh my God, AOC became based. What happened? Like, that's what's going to happen. Because, again, they'll be able to react to viral clips and get likes and followers, et cetera, et cetera. But now, the only way to get likes and followers from AOC is dogging on her. So they're doing that. So I'm just going to wait for the material conditions to change. And I'm going to tell, by the way, this is another certified Mike prediction that you'll be able to test and see if it's true or not. Well, I guess we'll see, right? Which brings us to the next topic. I mean, you know, I got to say that video by Chapo, I was not impressed. That analysis is not very good. Basically, it boils down to this. We are going viral. There are viral Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson clips, and we want to be able to like and retweet them. And you're ruining our vibes by saying that they're pieces of shit. Like, that's really what it boils down to. All the AOC negativity gives guy who dies in a video game and wants to tell everyone else to play. It's like, have you ever watched like a chess master Twitch stream? Like, that's like the funniest shit ever, because a chess master will make some move, right? And then other people will be like, why not? Blah, blah, blah. Why not? Blah, 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 blah. And it's not to say that the chess master is never gets a correct suggestion from the chat, but it's like 99.9999% of the time the moves are fucking stupid. And it's like, that's usually how I feel about most Twitter posters about politics. It's like, bro, I'm constantly blindsided by what people think is intelligent. All right, chat. The Rapture, brought to you by Hassan, AOC, and of course the hard work of a decade of faceless organizers in Philadelphia. I'm talking about Reclaim Philadelphia. I'm talking about Larry Krasner's political campaign. I'm talking about all of the effort of the Bertiecrats. I'm talking about all sorts of movements that have been in Philadelphia plugging away, doing the slow boring of hard boards. They have finally broken through and helped break the backs of Philadelphia's political machine. Get back. And then we're going to do the autopsy.
Because I assure you, I did not win tonight. We won. We won. I have been critiqued along this campaign for being too radical, being too bold. They ain't seen nothing yet.
Welcome back. That was Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Rapp last night after he won his primary to be the Democratic nominee in the state's 3rd congressional district. It is a major win for progressives in what is considered the nation's bluest House district. Joining me now is Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Rapp. Thank you so much for joining me. Great to see you.
Likewise.
And we should say we, of course, know each other. I'm from Philly, so we have a lot of contacts in common. Really appreciate your being on the program. I want to ask you about this victory last night. It's being viewed as a major win for progressives, and I wonder, what message do you hope it sends to the Democratic establishment and, quite frankly, the rest of the country?
Well, I think even beyond the progressive label, what it suggests and what it actually affirms is grassroots organizing and people-powered campaigns that rebuke corporate PAC money is something that resonates with not just the base of the Democratic Party, but those folks who do not feel seen or heard by the party. So new folks, young folks, certainly progressives, but other folks who are just tired of entrenched politics and establishment politics. They want to see themselves in their leaders and in the platforms of those people who are running. And if they don't feel particularly compelled to come out to vote.
Well, let me ask you, because Governor Josh Shapiro, as you know, weighed in on several Pennsylvania primaries. Notably, he did not weigh in on yours. There was a report.
He didn't weigh in because they were going to fucking lose. Also, everything happened perfectly. There were 2 centrist candidates, so the centrists couldn't coalesce because they were both kind of like, they couldn't figure out which one was the clear winner, which also fucked them up. Now, Shapiro did weigh in. He weighed in behind the scenes secretly.
That the governor was trying to block your path to victory. Do you think that your brand of politics can be replicated in the swing districts in Pennsylvania, where the governor did weigh in, where Democrats are hoping to win in order to take back the House?
Yes. Well, first, there's no credible evidence that the governor tried to tank my campaign. I think that's pure speculation. And if he wanted to have his thumb on the scale, he could have endorsed any of my three opponents, and he didn't do it. I think he respected politics of the race in Philadelphia, and he is prepared to work with the new Democratic nominee. He called me. I graciously accepted his congratulations. But the real
I graciously accepted. I fucking love Chris, dude.
Work is how do we make sure that the priorities of the Democratic Party resonate and more.
Like, by the way, chat, look at Pennsylvania, right? Look at the district sizes, right? So look at the Philadelphia district. That's 761,000 people, right? You can barely see it. It's a dot. And then it's this block. Right here, if you want to know this part of Pennsylvania, you're like, what happens here? The answer is this is nothing. Even all these years, 250 years after the founding of this country, there is nobody here, pretty much. If it wasn't for Penn State, there would be like literally nothing here. It's a forest. It's ancient mountains, some of the oldest mountains in the world, and forests.
More importantly, are attuned to what the people closest to the pain want. And what we have is an intermediation of a donor class that is not reflective of the constituency and the electorate. So the things
Hershey's not up there, chat. Hershey's not up there. Hershey's much closer to the like Maryland border.
That are most important to the people who need to come out the most to have Democratic wins are the ones who feel least seen in the priorities of the current Democratic Party, which is why I believe I was able to get a plurality of the votes. I was able to get a plurality of black voters, young.
See, chat? Hershey's down here. I'm talking about up here. See how it says Allegheny National Forest? There's fucking barely any roads and there's just nothing. So basically, like, almost the entire, like, top half of Pennsylvania, anything north of Route 80, like, especially right here, there's almost nothing. I mean, other than beautiful natural preserve. Black bears. You want to hunt black bears, you go up there. And deer.
Voters, progressive voters. And so it was truly the broad diversity of one of the most diverse districts in the nation, one of the youngest. And I think it shows that when people see themselves in a campaign and understand that it's bigger than.
Who the fuck wants to hunt a bear? Oh, you don't know about that. The black bear. One of the largest and most secretive animals living in Pennsylvania is the black bear. Ursus americanus. It is unlawful to unintentionally lay or place food, hay, or grain, chemical or salt, or other minerals that may cause bears to congregate or habituate an area. How many did they hunt last year? You can hunt one bear a year, I believe. I think that's the number of bears harvested. There you go. Is it illegal to hug them? You can try. But yeah. Why is there a bear in my yard?
Hi, I'm Warden Cole with the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Every year we get a lot of phone calls about bears being in neighborhoods and around houses. This is usually caused by some sort of food source. The common food sources that bears find around houses include bird feeders, garbage cans, compost piles, burning barrels, pet food outside, grills that aren't burned off, small livestock such as chickens. Even though you may only have one of these or two of these at your house, it all adds up when you look at what else is in the neighborhood. The more often bears come into houses and get free food, the more comfortable they get. Therefore, they become less fearful of humans, and they actually start coming into houses looking for food because it's a common food source for them. Trapping and relocating the bear is not the long-term solution for this. If the food sources remain, it's only a matter of time before another bear finds the food source, and we're right back where we started from. The long-term solution to help prevent bears from coming in around your house is to remove all food sources.
This is like classic Pennsylvania shit.
And anything that the wildlife may think might be food. Removing the food sources helps limits the congregation of bears and helps lower disease.
This guy is not doing well.
Spread. This will also help decrease the habituation of the bears and help keep them wild. By doing these things, you help make it safe for people and wildlife. We would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video and take.
That's why there's a bear in your yard. So you see what I said about there being nobody? Somebody hunted 72 bears in Cameron. God damn, that's a lot of bears up there. Forest County had 52. I swear there's probably more bears than people up there. Somebody hunted a bear in Bucks County? 0 in Philadelphia, chat. No hunting of bears in Philly. Allegheny had 1. There was a bear hunted in Pittsburgh. Lehigh had 6. Northampton had 27. So that's Allentown. That's Bethlehem. No bears in the Amish area. The bears.
The candidate themselves, that anything is possible, and that's going to create a lot of enthusiasm.
There are a lot of bears in Philly, but they're not being hunted. They're hunting the twinks.
And just to press on this point, I mean, Democrats are trying to win back the House. Obviously, all politics is local, so every candidate has to refine their own messaging based on who their constituents are. But do you think that your progressive message can be effective, can be a winning message when you step outside of a district that is reliably blue, that is a swing area, for example, and win over independents and win over people who you need to win in order to win back the House?
I don't think that regular working people and working families in suburbs and rural areas are in love with the Epstein class. I don't think they're in love with greedy corporations. I don't think they're in love with money infecting politics. All of the things that make their lives so much harder. Those are the things I'm fighting against. So I believe that this message will resonate far beyond ethnically diverse, very blue districts. And I am prepared to go anywhere and everywhere to lift up those messages of folks who want to be on the right side of history. And as a current state lawmaker in the largest full-time state legislature in the country, I have had the benefit of going to places around our Commonwealth, and those messages do in fact resonate with folks. It may not resonate with the donor class, but my interest is connecting with the people who decide who takes us to Washington, D.C.
Let me ask you, because you got the endorsement of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. As you know, there is a lot of buzz about her political future. Do you see her and her brand of progressive politics as the future of the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. But I also feel that the things that she's uplifted in her leadership in Congress and many others, including my sister in service, Summer Lee, the first Black woman to be elected to Congress from Pennsylvania, these things resonate far beyond what we would call a progressive voting bloc. These whether it's universal health care or increasing the minimum wage or climate action or getting money out of politics, these are not inherently progressive ideas. Some of these things have been embraced by moderate Democrats, have been embraced by some Republicans as well over time. And I believe that the progressive label has some value, but it's not nearly as important as what are the things going to move our nation forward that address all communities and not just the left or the right. I think that's a challenging framework that is not necessarily accurate.
I think that this is like the ultimate politician speak, which is like, it's not about left or right, it's about up or down. You know, it's this like kind of fucking annoying politician speak, which I totally understand. Like, I get it. Many people don't identify with a political label, and if they do, they identify incorrectly, right? Like, that's obviously true. So we're not trying to gatekeep people out who don't identify as left-wing, because not enough people do that to have a majority.
Let me ask.
Thoughts on full or part-time legislators? Legislators should be full-time, and they should be paid well, and they should get the death penalty for corruption. That's how I think it should be. So, like, make legislators really well off. Make sure they spend their time on that. But if they do anything corrupt, chop their heads off. The guillotine. Death penalty won't solve corruption, but it'll feel so good. Also, it definitely helps. It's not just about the harshness of the punishment. It has to be a high probability of getting caught. This is actually what stops people from committing crimes. The thing that stops people from committing crimes is not harshness of punishment. It's odds of getting caught and also having buy-in to society. Those are the ways that you actually stop crime, right? You don't stop crime by like being super harsh. But there are certain classes of people that I think we should be harsh again. Capitalists and their servants. That's just my own, personal flavor.
If Democrats win back the House in November.
Paying them well produces unnecessary bureaucracy. Pay them as if they are workers. Incorrect and silly. Silly argument. Legislators are making decisions and have to be able to understand expertise in all areas of human striving. We should want to attract talented and intelligent people, and they should not be, and if you pay them poorly, The type of people that will go into political campaigns are the people that have a lot of money already and are trying to abuse it for the advantage of their class. Legislators run a $6 trillion budget. They should be paid extremely well to manage that effectively. A small-time car dealership should not be more lucrative than being one of 300 people running a country of 350 million. That's silly. Now, obviously, what we should be trying to do is incentivize those legislators to raise the standard of living of the worst off. That's what we should be incentivizing. But we shouldn't be underpaying legislators. There's a lot of states that already have part-time, low-paid, term-limited reps. You know what states those are? What states do you think have low-paid, part-time, term-limited representation? Do you think that results in good progressive policy? The answer is red states.
Do you have confidence in Leader Jeffries to lead the Democratic caucus to push through some of your priorities?
Well, my priorities will be the priorities of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which endorsed me. Those are things that are, I believe, the type of policies that will help everyone. And I believe, from what I've seen, he will be receptive to that in a newly regained Democratic majority.
So if you, in fact, do win the general election, what will your priority be on day one? What will be the very first issue you will aim to tackle?
Well, we got to stop digging. We have to de-Trumpify, de-MAGify government as we know it. We have to stop the bleeding before we can do anything else. We do need to embrace a bold legislative agenda for this nation, but we have to stop the bleeding. We have to restore the cuts. We have to make sure that our own government isn't weaponized against the most vulnerable, and that definitely starts on day one.
Well, State Representative Chris Rabb, we will be tracking your campaign through November. We really
There is no Republican on the ballot. Just so you guys understand how much he won. There is no Republican on the ballot. No Republican circulated enough petition signatures to get on the ballot. So there is no nominated Republican. The Republican Party has surrendered this race. He has won. It's a formality.
Appreciate you joining us. Congratulations. Please stay safe.
Thank you.
We thank you.
Stay safe. What the fuck?
For watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Could the Republicans do a write-in campaign? Oh, sure. Of course they could. Of course they could. You could always do a write-in campaign. They won't because it's fucking hopeless. We can't build anything. Call China. True. All right, chat. Now it's time. Everybody has wanted me to talk about it. The fucking DNC autopsy. Is there a video? Because I heard this is bullshit. I heard it's boring and useless. In every election cycle, the two major parties and hundreds of outside groups invest enormous resources and energy trying to define the terrain for voter choice. What happens at the presidential level certainly impacts down-ballot contests, yet candidates across the ballot of both parties will seek to define choices for voters in their specific elections. From those choices, the voters decide which choice is the most resonant. One party declares itself the winner, and the other party declares that the fight is far from finished. Effective parties, understanding history rarely repeats itself, it does often rhyme, make it a point to study electoral outcomes after each cycle to identify political potential improvements to every aspect of their campaigns. John Adams argued liberty cannot be preserved without a general knowledge among the people who have a right and a desire to know. This desire to know, to understand what is going well and what needs to be maintained, along with understanding what is not working and needs to evolve, is at the heart of any substantive effort to evaluate the relative impact of strategies and tactics tied to a specific election cycle and specific candidate matchup in order to generate insights about what happened. Okay. This is all rhetoric about how it's a good idea to study things and blah, 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 blah. This document reflects the views of the author, not the DNC. The DNC was not provided with the underlying sourcing, interviews, or supporting data for many of the assertions contained herein, and therefore cannot independently verify the claims presented. Jump to conclude. I want to do the executive summary because that's usually a good idea. What page is the executive summary? Okay, it's after the intro. Introduction, methodology. This section was not provided by the author? Okay, we'll go to conclusions then. Oh, here's why they didn't want to release it. Because there was a thing about spending. They're talking about the big vendors who got paid the most. Waterfront Strategies Incorporated got $175 million from the House. What is Waterfront Strategies? Waterfront Strategies? Jesus Christ. They're practically bragging about having a yacht. They don't even have a website? Okay. A firm, the advertising purchasing firm affiliated with Democratic consulting powerhouse GMMB. Okay, so that's what we need to know. We're an agency on a mission. Who's on the team? I want to meet the team. Who's the team? I want to meet the team. Who's the team? Who we are? We're an agency on a mission. Generative engine optimization. Generative engine optimization. While traditional SEO is about rankings, GEO is about AI visibility and trust. Oh, they're telling you how to, control the way that AI talks about you. What do Presidents Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Bill Clinton have in common? They all hired GMMB to help them win the White House. Who the fuck were they hiring?
Okay, you know I was your governor, but there's some things you may not know. My hair used to be way better. I played quarterback. My dad was a doctor here for 55 years. I swim every morning. And yes, I'm a fan of fans. And in Congress, I'll get things done for Pinellas County. I'll protect Social Security and Medicare, defend women's health care and Planned Parenthood, and take care of our veterans. I'm Charlie Crist, and I approve this message because I'll put the people first.
Well, guys, that's such a compelling campaign ad. There's no way that anyone else could have made this. I wonder how much they charge for this. What do you guys think? I would say they probably charge at least $200,000. Not even joking.
Every president inherits challenges. Few have faced so many. 4 years later, our enemies have been brought to justice. Our heroes are coming home. Assembly lines are humming again. There are still challenges to meet. Children to educate, a middle class to rebuild. But the last thing we should do is turn back now.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Man, boomers are they love that shit. Did he say anything? No. Was it absolutely fucking meaningless and appealing purely to nostalgia? And it's so martial, like it's like we killed Osama bin Laden.
Under Governor Scott Walker, Wisconsin ranks 44th out of 50 states in road quality. That's a lot of potholes. Your coffee deserves better, and so do you.
How did Scott Walker do in his re-election campaign? So he won in 2010, and in 2014, he did even better. I guess he lost to Tony Evers running for the third term. In 2018, by 0.9%. God damn, that was close. How did they do so poorly? That was like a wave election. Jesus. These are all the worst campaigns. Holy shit.
Sick of this? Well, think about this. He's a world leader in temper tantrums. She never loses her cool. She prosecuted sex predators. He is one.
Grab him by the...
She shut down for-profit colleges that swindled Americans. He was a for-profit college.
At Trump University, we teach success.
Literally. He's owned by the big...
Chat, I just realized something. We are 3 hours into the stream and I forgot the show. These guys got $200 million and that money went nowhere. Can you imagine what I would do with $200 million? How the permanent structure I would create with $200 million? I could fund something that never went away, that had so much influence. You just put $200 million into treasury bonds and then use that as an annual fund. And I could do so much with that amount of money. And that was just their ad buying. This is what they did with it.
Banks. She's the attorney general who beat the biggest banks in America and forced them to pay homeowners $18 billion.
Actually, what's really interesting about this example is it was she settled, and it was a scandal. Her settlement was actually a scandal because it let them off the hook. This was widely considered to be like one of the biggest fumbles of the Great Recession prosecutions, was when Kamala Harris settled for only $18 billion. Let's see if we can bring it up. The foreclosure settlement. In LA, Kamala Harris calls settlement tremendous victory. Oh man, LA Times, I hate you. I'm not going to pay you any money. Anyway, chat, we have a hype trade going on, and the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get the hype trade conductor badge next to their name. If you enjoy this content, if you value this content, please consider supporting it by subscribing. I would really appreciate it. We are currently at 6,223 subs. We've actually lost 150 today. Damn. Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. So if you enjoy the content, please consider supporting it. It's May, chat. May is always a month.
He's tearing us apart. She'll bring us together. This is Trump. And in every possible way, this is the anti-Trump. So if that's what you're looking for in your next president, there's really only one. Kamala.
What an absolutely terrible campaign. This is like this must be a CIA cutout because it's like all the most evil right-wing Democrats.
I love Michigan. I grew up here. I'm raising my family here. This was the place that built the middle class, where people came for opportunity and a way up. But our leaders have let us down.
How many times do you think Gretchen Whitmer has been at a diner like this on her own in her life? Her dad was the Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance CEO. She was born into a lot of money, super rich. She's wearing a jacket that it looks like BDU fatigues. So this has to be some sort of high concept designer jacket. Somebody find this for me. Somebody find this designer jacket. I need to know how much this was.
Opportunity and a way up. But our leaders have let us down. From our kids' schools to the roads we drive to paychecks that don't cover payments to even the water we drink.
God.
We deserve better, and we can fix it.
Watching her put herself in these dive bars and diners is so fucking funny to me, dude.
Let's get it done.
She's like, I have never walked on streets like this before. That's so funny, dude. Here's
Mom taught us that courage was not defined by the lack of fear, but by the willingness to act.
Like, how chill would it be if somebody gifted me a sub? That'd be so chill. Honestly, chat, there's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just tech workers struggling to make ends meet. If you are an AI expert who puts how you're going to leverage AI into every email with your supervisor because you know that's the type of bullshit slop they want to hear, and so you've gotten a raise, take that raise and send it to this community as a tithe because you know what you've done. You know that AI slop sucks. You're protecting yourself. You're playing the game. And I understand it, but it's still wrong to pay your socialist tithe now by subscribing to the stream at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you could also attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. We love Primes because that's making Jeff Bezos pay a tax. The wealthy suburbanites able to be converted, or are they neo-libs forever? It depends on who you're talking about. If you're talking about their highly educated, under 45-year-old professional managerial class intelligentsia, yeah, they're voting for socialists all over the place. If you're talking about Gen X or boomers who bought a house in 1987 when it was 3 cents and it's now worth $7 million, well, yeah, no, they're voting for Republican. So, you know, that's my answer to that, right? Like, and the other thing I want to say is what we call the professional managerial class has a name. It's called the intelligentsia. We call it the professional managerial class because we're trying to create a new name for an old thing. Okay? It is highly educated workers who are not owners of the means of production. They're not part of the class of the bourgeoisie, but they do have privilege and status in society, right? That is what that is. That is the intelligentsia. And they have always been a font for class traders. A lot of highly educated, those people have always been some of the leaders of the people that say, hey, the system is failing. It's not working. That has always been part of the movement. So I think it's very cringe when people who are part of that class, by the way, which is overwhelmingly a lot of the people that talk about this, they're very self-aware. You know, they do this kind of like working class cosplay worship. And it's not that the working class isn't a key element of our movement. They have to be. They are the numbers. It's just, I don't need to see the performative like worship of like what you call the real working class. It's very cringe and weird. Just stop it.
In spite of your fears, that bravery lived in each of our hearts, She taught us never to be intimidated by power, wealth, or station. That we could set our own standards based on...
God, there's nothing I hate more than Joe Biden. Just showing poor Americans, other people struggling. He's not in any of these. Oh, here he is. There's a picture of him. We'll find out where he is.
Or station. That we could set our own standards based on character alone. She called it the Biden standard. My mother's creed is the American creed. Mom taught us that.
The thing that I'm seeing from their ads is, and the ones they decided to put on their website, I have a term for these. I find these to be the principal polisher ad. In other words, principal polisher ad is an ad that you make for a narcissistic principal who's really bad at politics, but is also an authoritarian and overbearing on the campaign, which is a common flaw of bad politicians, is they're extremely narcissistic and they think they're the cat's meow. And the type of ads they like are narcissistic supply ads. This is a narcissistic supply ad. There is it's not even biographical. It's just Joe Biden associating himself with like rescuers from Hurricane Katrina, the gay rights movement, doctors struggling in COVID-19, civil rights protesters, and like, you know, he's not actually in this. It's just he's narcissistically associating himself with it. And he's not even making statements of support of the political movements these people are associated with. This ad sucks fucking ass. And the only person that it sells to is Joe Biden. God damn, this is bad.
President Trump, I hear you watch the morning shows.
Not a rep.
Here's what I do every morning.
Not a rep.
Look, you lost the popular vote.
Not a rep.
You're having trouble drawing a crowd.
Oh, he's not. He's only got one leg. Never mind. Okay, he's only got one leg. He's only got one leg. Okay, no, never mind. Never mind. He's only got one leg.
And your approval rating keeps sinking.
Never
They're kicking
mind.
thousands of my fellow veterans off their health insurance.
Good try. Good job.
By killing the Affordable Care Act, and banning Muslims won't help. That's not the America I sacrificed for. You want to be a legitimate president, sir? Then act like one.
That's pretty impressive weight for one leg. He's pretty strong. He's pretty strong. Half reps with one leg is pretty fucking impressive. I couldn't do that. That's balance. Yeah, that's impressive. If you want to know where this guy lost his leg, he probably lost it from an improvised explosive device, because they oftentimes cause multiple amputations, right? So the reason why going to Iraq was a bad idea is when you drive over an improvised explosive device, it oftentimes caused multiple amputations, and there was a perineal gluteal amputation was extremely high. Victims of anti-personnel improvised explosive devices were more likely to have multiple amputations, genital injury, or genital injury to shreds. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, to shreds. 30% of guys who had who ran over an IED got a genital injury. Oof. Pelvic binders and tourniquets should be applied at the point of entry to injury to patients with multiple amputations or perineal injuries. Don't invade countries, chat. Don't invade countries. That's awful. The improvised explosive device is increasingly used in modern conflicts, including Afghanistan. The majority of these weapons have been directed against pedestrian individuals in a similar fashion to anti-personnel mines. Oof. Yikes. Will I raid Zoran? He's not going to be live. All right, Chad. Thank you so much for the hype train. Did this guy even win?
I'm not the strongest skater. My slap shot could use a little work. In Zamboni driving, I need some practice. But when it comes to bringing people together to get things done, I'm basically a Hall of Famer. The Golden Knights happened because we put politics aside and worked as a team. We need more of that in Nevada. Let's focus on schools that teach, jobs that pay,
He
and
lost,
healthcare
right?
you can afford. And save the yelling for the Golden Knights. Go Knights, go!
He lost, right? Okay, what was this ad about?
I'm not the strongest skater. My slap shot could use a little work. In Zamboni driving, I need some practice. But when it comes to bringing people together to get things done, I'm basically a Hall of Famer. The Golden Knights happened because we put politics aside and worked as a team. We need more of that in Nevada. Let's focus on schools that teach, jobs that pay, and healthcare you can afford.
Thank you,
Save the
Harvard.
yelling
I got it.
for
I
the
got it.
Golden
It's a good. It's a good.
Go
clip.
Knights, go!
Wow, these ads are fucking trash. Holy shit, are these trash?
When a parent tells me they think their son might be depressed, one of the first questions I ask is there a gun in the house? When girls try to hurt themselves, it's usually with pills. When boys try, it's usually with a gun. And sometimes the damage is not just to themselves. When I'm in Congress, I will fight the NRA and fight for common sense gun ownership laws to keep all our kids safe. I'm Dr. Kim Schreier, and I approve this message.
He's got to be some sort of like hyper right wing. I'm so curious because I have never heard of her before. And she's on their she's on their main page. Oh my God. Oh my God. She is the 204th most left-wing rep. Oh my God. Holy shit. She's bad. She votes with the left only 35.3% of the time. She voted to make soda ineligible for SNAP. She voted for a farm bill that includes permanent SNAP cut benefits. She voted to expand the scope of FISA. She permitted biomass sourcing on federal lands. Holy shit, dude. Declare it is the policy of the United States that Iran continues to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. She voted for ICE funding. She Trump-backed funding bill that increases funding for military, $3.3 billion for Israel, and defunds USAID and UNRWA. Table the motion to impeach Trump. God. Establish a hotline for businesses to complain about governmental regulations. Denounce socialism in all its forms. Repeal District of Columbia's law enforcement reforms, including a ban on hiring officers with a history of serious misconduct. Repeal DC's bail reform. This is Biden. Like, oh my God, dude. Honor Charlie Kirk. Repeal DC's restrictions on when police can engage in car chases. She wants to strip DC of its power. God damn, she's a fucking racist. Ban transgender women from sports at the service academies. Oh my God, 95% of Democrats voted against this. She voted for it. God, she's so bad. She voted for the crypto scam laws. God damn, dude. She's so bad, man. God, she sucks so fucking much. I knew she was going to be some sort of like far-right psychotic freak. And Charlie Crist, this guy used to be a Republican. And of course, the only thing she supports is gun control. All right, let's like actually look at this report. I'm sorry, I got off track because I was like, what is this group that got so much money? And then I looked at all of their fucking ads and they're all dog shit. And the reason why they're dog shit is because their corporation, they're corrupt. This is a shit ad. This is their ads. Their ads are terrible and wouldn't persuade a single voter, as somebody in the chat just said.
And it is time for...
Okay, we got hairy legs. Yeah, I know. DNC chairman Ken Martin released an incomplete, unedited version of the autopsy. Trans Trump ad seen as highly effective and damaging. Harris did not shift position in response. She already was anti-trans. She did. Stagnation, failure to invest in state and local parties, inability to project strength unity because they don't stand for anything. Alt's overall Democratic effort for failing for effectively defied or attack Trump, relying on assumption his negatives were baked in. All right, where's the poll? Where's my page that had that stupid shit open? Okay, here we go. All right, where's the conclusion? Let's do Gaza. Gaza. Oh, no Gaza? Gaza? No found? Palestine? Protests? Protest? DNC? Maybe the search just not working. Okay, here we go. Okay, it does work. Left? Harris's focus on college-educated suburbs left gaps at unwinnable levels. Okay, here we go. 101. While Democrats were content enjoying the 2012 victory and celebrating what got them there, Republicans went back to the drawing board to learn from their losses. Instead of trying to revolutionize their own system, Republican analysts looked at where the Obama campaign spent its attention and resources and worked to reverse engineer the reasoning behind those decisions. Eventually, they were able to surpass Democratic efforts and reinvented the process by which Republicans approach digital media to great effect. Okay, I don't want this. Isn't there a button to like make this expand? Didn't we have this okay, I don't. There used to be a button. Make this big. Not work. All right. Okay. DNC first acquired a license for Vertica, a high-performance analytics software that enabled the party to centralize its volunteer and donor data, but to also access and analyze 180 million person voter file. A state-of-the-art system at the time, Vertica served as the party's central data repository, the digital warehouse containing every state voter's file, every commercially available voter data point, and internally the results of every door visited by canvassers on and every phone call made by volunteers. Okay, this is better. We were talking about Vertica. Okay. The data was combined with information generated from social media, campaign interactions, and online user activity to reveal voter tendencies in a way never before envisioned. With these new capabilities, the Obama-Biden campaign was able to micro-listen to what voters were saying and doing and test the effectiveness of messages aimed at narrow demographic groups. Algorithms integrated into Vertica could look for patterns embedded in the data and develop scores to place voters in particular groups to identify how much attention needed to be paid to them and which channels of communication were most likely to make significant inroads. I actually talked about this on the Majority Report with Sam Cedar in 2016. Let me see if I can find this video. It's still on their channel. Pennsylvania. Oh, here it is. I found it. It's me, chat. This is for me. 9 years ago.
Well, no. This
Dem campaign organizer, what data models got wrong about voters in Pennsylvania. So if you want to hear my opinion about Vertica and how it's stupid and how it was wrong, you can go and listen to this video. This is an ancient, deep cut, deep lore Mike from PA video. Deep cut. There you go. You should try to find this guy. And if he has any more to talk about, do a whole interview with him. You got your wish. I still don't quite understand how he won Pennsylvania. All right. Deep cut lore. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Before Vertica, the DNC had no central repository of data. No sourcing or evidence provided for this claim contradicts public reporting and lagged when it came to identifying the course of voters and the song they sang in each election cycle. Knowledge about voters was stored separately from data about campaign interactions because those databases were developed by different teams who had little interest in making their systems compatible. Sourcing not provided. No evidence provided for this claim. Vertica represented a quantum leap forward in terms of targeted outreach and advertising on a granular level. It was not a success built to last. While Democrats were content enjoying the 2012 victory, okay, decision compounded the inability of Democrats. Basically, you're saying they didn't invest in their data. Reflecting on the 2016 campaign, Hillary Clinton believed the system she inherited campaign produced mediocre to poor, non-existent, and wrong data. In 2016, Vertica was already too old and too strained to handle the amount of data it held and the analysis it was being used to conduct. Interviews with various campaign staffers detailed how the system was known for crashing upwards of 16 hours at a time. Vertica, the centerpiece of DNC data analysis, was an archaic tool being used beyond its design capabilities. It was not a system built to last indefinitely or designed to be used by a number of individuals and entities who were accessing it. Party leaders and state-level decision makers were therefore not tuned into changes in voting patterns by age, gender, race, and state. Shifts in reliably blue regions were undetectable until it was too late, leading to underinvestment in areas needing financial and operative injections to maintain the blue wall. This is exactly what I talk about in this. Let me see what I say. Again, this is 9 years old, so voter model.
610 area code. Who's this?
Hey, Sam. This is Michael from PA.
Michael
from Pennsylvania. Okay, anyway, sorry. Hold on, scores.
Because why not? Fuck it. Everybody has multiple different model scores on them. We keep a voter file on every human being in America, basically.
Right.
And there is...
Fuck it!
And we have all sorts of collection of data that's collected both through the private sector, from the party and from the private.
This is where my name came from, John. And not only that, I was very nervous in this phone call. Because I was like talking about shit that people don't really talk about online because they don't do any campaign work, so they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I mean, most of my life is biting my tongue because I realize that trashing other people is not going to help me. But eventually, sometimes it breaks down and I get pissed off and I do it anyway. It occasionally happens where I'm just like, everyone's fucking stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. But I try not to do it too much. Anyway, let's keep going. Some observers consider this a significant reason why Clinton did not spend meaningful time engaging voters in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, in other historically Democratic states because the blue shifts were invisible to a system too bulky and unwieldy to hear micro dissents and objections. This is exactly what I talked about 9 years ago. So the DNC report is validating what I said 9 years ago on the majority report. In the aftermath of 2016, the DNC recognized Vertica's limitations. It was essential to catch up to the times, ensure Democrats were on the train and not left at the station once again. Simple queries did not crash the system for hours at a time. Thus began the construction of a new data warehouse backed by Google's BigQuery, a tool capable of petabyte-scale analysis that would unlock insights previously unreachable with existing tools and hardware. Using BigQuery was another massive leap forward. It allowed for the party and its affiliated groups to share data without running afoul of campaign finance laws. Based on the advanced Republican model, many believe provided Trump with an advantage in the 2016 election by providing data beyond what the RNC could reasonably capture on its own. Redeveloping such a system had been previously impossible for Democrats relying on the outdated Vertica system, despite Democrats being originators of the approach. In part of the 2019 nominating process, the Bloomberg campaign helped found Hawkfish in early 2019 in order to combat the digital advances made by Republicans and the MAGA strategists in charge of President Trump's campaign. Ostensibly founded to provide a technological edge to his own presidential campaign, Hawkfish also began working on races in Virginia and Kentucky where Democrats picked up down-ballot wins. In November 2019, Andy Beshear narrowly defeated Republican Matt Brevin to take control of Kentucky, a state where Trump's 2016 margin of victory was just under 30 percentage points. One key to this victory was leveraging technology to determine what was most important to Kentucky voters and showing them how Beshear's platform most aligned with their needs and interests. No sourcing provided. Hawkfish was initially founded to be a premier digital agency and technology services provider, specializing in digital ad services, including content creation, ad placement, and analytics for Democratic contenders in various races. Bloomberg founded the company after realizing how President Trump and the GOP were better at creating content and using it as calls to action than any entity in the Democratic ecosystem. What Bloomberg knew and what the party needs to accept is that the only way to position the party for the future wins is to master the digital medium, targeting the right groups and sharing the kind of compelling content to keep them awake, energized, and excited about the future. The GOP's campaign was powered by data, amplified by social media, enabled by ardent supporters at every level. Yes, they fed red meat to their base, and it caused organic content creation. It's not that complicated. This is all like corpo speak for the GOP listened to people's posts on social media and then fed them red meat. Wow, that's so hard to do. Despite the end result of 2024, the technological shift could be seen. Thanks to donors who provided the seed money for system modernization and capital improvements, the DNC began to work with flexible and powerful technological toolkits. As a result of the latest investment, campaigns had access to best-in-class data warehouse, codenamed Phoenix, powered by robust data about the American electorate and state-of-the-art tooling to turn data into actionable insights. Augmenting our understanding of voters with a powerful set of models leveraging decades of accumulated data. This is why they love their AI shit. They want to fucking panopticon your ass. I try to explain this, but like, they really love big data. Pretty soon they'll have a drone flying over my head. Turn out to vote or volunteer or be motivated about specific issues and more. These nearly 1 billion text, phone, walk, email, and relational attempts resulted in 53 million successful contacts across the entire progressive ecosystem during the 2024 general election cycle, making the Phoenix system a vital component of the electoral analysis that shaped daily and weekly strategic decisions. Okay, so now we have the system. What did they actually find? What issues did they not listen to? They raised a lot of money. So a lot of the complaining is there's no sourcing provided. No sourcing provided for claim. Trump said a final draft of the Iran deal has made markets are rising based off of Trump. Oh my God, damn it. Jesus Christ. These people are fucking... Trump says, hi, we're gonna do a peace deal. And they're like, yay! How many times can this happen? How many times can this happen? President Trump said earlier this week he called off imminent airstrikes on Iran to give diplomacy more time. Earlier today,
Oil is up almost $3 this morning on some new headlines out of Iran. Let's get to Pippa Stevens. Hey, Pippa.
Hey, Carl. So Iran's supreme leader has reportedly said that uranium has to stay in the country. That's according to Reuters, which calls into question how close a deal really could be. Oil did drop yesterday, with WTI falling below 100 after President Trump said yet again that the U.S. and Iran were in, quote, final stages. But uranium removal has been a key sticking point for the U.S., so oil is rallying today on the expectation that a deal is not, in fact, imminent. Now, there are also growing concerns about the pace of global inventory depletions. New data shows that here in the U.S., stockpiles fell by a record 17.78 million barrels last week, including a record 9.9 million barrel draw from the SPR. U.S. production hasn't meaningfully increased and exports have surged, meaning much of that oil pulled from storage is hitting the global markets. Some saying this has masked the true scale of the oil deficit and that inventories are a finite buffer that cannot be tapped indefinitely. We're seeing Brent here today at 107. Guys?
Yeah. Kevin, are we mentioning?
Okay, going through this. Where's the page marks that are actually on the like reading through the autopsy? I have to like find the shit that's actually relevant. I mean, all I'm seeing is like these are all very technical campaign related things that don't even really matter, to be honest with you. She didn't lose because she didn't knock enough doors. I mean, they spent a lot more time texting, but again, this is just percentages. So maybe they increased the total number of attempts, right? Millions of stockpiled oil is being used, and we have a 400 million barrel oil stockpile. I mean, of course, but that still doesn't make up for the Strait of Hormuz. DNC autopsy author Paul Rivera met with the pro-Palestinian group IMEU Policy Project in July 2025 and told them the war in Gaza hurt Democrats in the 2024 election. But the final report makes no mention of Israel or Gaza. He was also fired. Ken Martin should release the information that the author of the autopsy told us clearly and unambiguously that the DNC officials review their own data, found Biden's support for Israel to be a net negative for Democrats in 2024. Polls and reporting leading up to and after the 2024 election showed Biden and Harris's support for providing weapons to Israel was deeply unpopular with their own voters and an electoral liability. I mean, this is just reiterating stuff we already knew. Zero mentions of Israel, Palestine, or Gaza. It doesn't even have like any. Does it mention trans? Maybe it does. Maybe I should look that up. Trans. It's all about money transfers. Fuck. Transgender? Okay, they have one. Okay, here we go. The White House did not position or prepare the vice president. Had the White House explored or evaluated ways to leverage Kamala Harris earlier in the administration, perhaps it would have improved the president's standing and certainly could have helped prepare her to lead the ticket. Any fair critic of the vice president has to acknowledge the strength and ability she demonstrated as the nominee. The idea that a prepared and supported vice president could not have helped the president the preceding 3.5 years is a significant failure of imagination. Once the candidate switch was announced, the polling team quickly scrambled to get into the field with 3 studies, one on the vice president's biography and record, one on her vision and plan, and another on attacks and responses. Members of the vice president's team were tapped to reconstruct and update their own self-research from 2019, but even they were unclear if the research made it to the polling team. First, they felt it was important for the vice president to find separation from the status quo. She didn't do that. She said she would do nothing. They recognized voters were looking for change. The pollsters acknowledged the loyalty demonstrated by the vice president, but also suggested it was contrary to strong signals in their data about even measured breaks would position the vice president to win. They expressed their positions to campaign leadership, but there was little movement. One cited an attempted differentiation on immigration with a single speech delivered on a Friday afternoon with little amplification as an example of too little, too late. The pollsters were involved in discussions around the Trump attack ads, and particularly the attack ad focused on the vice president's prior statements on transgendered Americans. They all recognized the attack as very effective and felt the campaign was boxed. The ad was a video of her saying what she said, and it was framed as an attack on her economic priorities. If the vice president would not change her position, and she did not, then there was nothing that would have worked as a response. The pollsters generally concurred with the opinion shared by campaign leadership. Given the stakes and timing, the focus needed to be on attacking Trump. The inability to impact Trump's favorable was a major failure of the campaign. His retrospective job approval was too high. The Republicans had a defined framework for attacking the vice president, but the Democrats did not have a defined or consistent theory for attacking Trump or how to maneuver to disqualification. In the run-up to the 2022 election, a wave of partisan red wave polls flooded the media ecosystem and rocketed across social media. These polls resurfaced in 2024 and 2025, presenting data inconsistent with reputable nonpartisan public polling and internal Democratic data. To the extent voters look to polling for information, these partisan efforts are an intentional disinformation effort targeted at Democrats, and less rigorous aggregators will include these polls in their polling averages. Democrats must align on how to respond to these attempts of media manipulation of voter disinformation, and in the interim can respond in two ways. This is cope. What the fuck are you saying? She underperformed the polling. What are you saying? Conclusion. This section was not provided by the author. So no executive summary and no conclusion. The analytics team reported there was little movement throughout the campaign, and the state team struggled to meet contact and support goals. The analytics showed the race was characterized by stability. It remained tightly competitive throughout the general election. The message polling team was not fully onboarded until December of 2023. Comprised of 3 experienced polling firms and an expert qualitative firm, the pollsters described their work as underutilized during their initial engagement. They performed their work and delivered their findings to campaign leadership, but there was limited feedback or discussion of their work product. Before the candidate switched, the pollsters never received ad copy or content and commented that how they could not see ads until they were airing. In some instances, reading about the ads in the media. They also reported they had little insight into the data provided to leadership from the analytics team. As the June 2024 debate neared, there were discussions about polling around the debate and after the convention. The polling team was informed the plan was for them to poll 3 times during the general election. And the post-convention polling would count as one of those 3 polling waves. So they don't even want to know what's happening? They don't even want to know what's happening? You have $1 billion. You have $1 billion fucking dollars. And you don't even know what's happening? They attributed this minimalist approach to research to members of the media team not believing polling data was essential to decision making. The debate obviously changed many things. The dial testing during the debate demonstrated the weakness of the president's performance, and a post-debate survey was scrapped. The analytics team measured voter reaction and reported seeing little change. The fundamental need to earn votes from the target audiences remained, and there was no positive movement toward the campaign. Post-debate, and about a week before the candidate switched, there were internal discussions about how to prepare a campaign for the vice president. I'm like reading this the wrong way. I'm sorry, chat. I should be scrolling down, not up. But I'm like trying to... Research should drive design. It should tell us what to say, how to say it, and who to say it to. That's not true. A political party should be about achieving political ends for the groups that they represent. And they should be getting what they say from their contact with the masses, with the people. Like, the people should be part of the campaign. And so we should know what we need to say without asking, because the people that tell us what to say are part of it. This is, to explain this is like an advertising team for Coca-Cola. That's the way they're approaching a presidential campaign. Response bias remains a challenge. Younger Americans and non-white communities have long been underrepresented in research approaches, and technology has not made it easier to engage. The challenge in reaching younger voters is further complicated by how many young Americans are still part of family plans, so their phone number may actually be associated with a parent or another relative. In the context of the 21st century, media is now borderless. There was a time when ad placed in a given market would stay within that market. Now the way content is shared and the way algorithms can be manipulated means some voters can see something instantly, no matter where they are, while others may never see the content at all. Support for Democrats to acknowledge this movement as an opportunity to rethink and reformulate the way the party engages voters of all ages, backgrounds, and interests. The party must learn and align to how voters consume and receive information, what moves the needle, and what will keep them engaged and participating in subsequent elections. Democrats need to move on from messaging strategies consisting of pushing information and content out rather than pulling people in. A call to action focused on unity and empowering leaders to help and lead every level of politics. Pulling people in is one of the hardest things to do in elections, especially in a modern information and cultural ecosystem where a lot of people are content to sit on their couch and be on their phone, as opposed to being out in their communities and engaging and learning about what's going on in the world around them. This is not a criticism of the American people, but an observation about what has changed in the culture. The opportunity before Democrats is to think through how people and voters can be identified and invited to the party. And as Democrats bring people in, are they listening to what people are saying and what they want? Are the conversations and insights being shared? Is there an approach to sharing these insights with incumbents and candidates so they understand where communities are? In the absence of effective engagement, everything becomes reductive to the tech stack and the dashboard. Democrats are limited to the question the pollsters ask, and the inputs from these questions inform the decisions made about contact tactics and strategies. The broader the net, the broader the coalition, the stronger the Democratic Party will be, because none of us is smart as all of us. The truth is, right now, for all the technology and all the data, Democrats may be able to tell what people think, but cannot answer why a certain voter feels a certain way about a candidate, or what voters bring to the table, or how voters make decisions. These are the things necessary in a modern marketing ecosystem for Democrats to be able to first win attention, support, and their action. Pulling people in through messaging, through organizing, is the path for Democratic candidates to be able to win anywhere. The incompetence is truly breathtaking. The incompetence, like watching this and like learning and listening and processing, they're dumber than ever. They're actually worse than ever at this. It's amazing.
All right, y'all, got some breaking news here for you. So the DNC has now officially released the autopsy of the 2024 race, and it gets into why they think they lost. Now, Ken Martin is the head of the DNC. He had basically been going around in interviews and gaslighting us.
I think one of the things to remind, like to be aware of, is just like the Democrats, they're not interested in getting the answer because the institution is not interested in winning. The institution is interested in their members maintaining their power and their relationships with the donors. They don't give a fuck about what's happening out among you peasants.
To release the autopsy. Well, now that it is released, allow me to say, I kind of understand why you didn't want to release it. Hey, bro, this thing's a mess, man. This thing is an absolute mess. So let me walk you through it. But right off the jump here, let me just say, 100% this was made with AI. Without a doubt, this was made with AI. It is an absolute joke. It is pathetic how off-base this is. All right, so right off the jump here, let me just say, some of the reasons that they give for why Kamala lost, they say Trump's they-them attack ads on Kamala were seen as highly effective. That's where Trump was saying, she only cares about trans people, whereas I care about you, the regular folks. To me, I think that's kind of stupid and dumb because Kamala wasn't talking about trans people. She never mentioned trans people. So to try to tar her with that, it rings very hollow, in my opinion. We also have the Biden team was criticized for failing to prepare Kamala properly. They say that the Democrats were neglecting rural voters. And they also say that Democrats relied too much on saying we're not Trump. Hey, we're not this guy. We're anything but this guy. Okay, so that's some of the conclusions. We also have Kamala Harris on the ballot helped down-ballot Democrats more than Biden would have if he was on the ballot. In the report, they urge a shift away from identity politics and toward middle-class and kitchen-table issues like the economy and affordability. They also say that Republicans were more effective at messaging and data use, and they learned messages from the past better, including from Obama's campaign. Now, having said all that, you ready for this? So, mentions of Gaza, Palestine, or Israel in the 192-page report. Zero, none, not at all. It didn't bring it up at all, okay? That is astonishing, especially given that we now have some data that has come out that shows it was a very big reason why Kamala wasn't able to juice the turnout among the base as much as she needed it. Okay, we already have polling data that indicates this was a huge, huge issue. Okay, more. In addition to flat-out factual inaccuracies that are in the report, and I'm going to give you some of those in just a little bit, but in addition to that, the report also doesn't discuss inflation, perceptions of Biden's age, and immigration. That's all left completely out of the report. Amazing. All right. Now, how do we know that this was written by AI? Well, let me give you this. Here's some of the errors it contains. To Ken Martin's point about this document not being ready for primetime, which is something he said, it contains lots of errors and curious inclusions, even some that are puzzling to have in a draft. For instance, it lists 2 separate vote percentages for North Carolina for the Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson. It says at one point he won 45% of the vote. At another point, it says he won 42.7% of the vote. Neither of those are correct. He won 40.1% of the vote. Okay? In one point, it lifts up the Washington governor, Bob Ferguson, as an example of a candidate who did the right things, before later noting that he actually underperformed Kamala Harris. So their example of like the ideal is somebody who performed worse than Kamala did. It also misspells the names of politicians, like the Republican former Kentucky governor, Matt Bevin. They put Brevin instead of Bevin. And the Democratic former New Jersey governor, John Corzine, it's spelled John incorrectly. I mean, this is, again, this is amateur hour. This is amateur hour here. One of the things from the report that was like a big takeaway is that, hey, Democrats need to run a race like the governor of North Carolina, the Democratic governor of North Carolina. And of course, the takeaway people are having is like, bro, he was running against a Republican who was a black Nazi who was obsessed with racist porn. He's like that guy was the worst candidate maybe in U.S. history, and that's the only reason the Democrat won, is because Mark Robinson is a fucking mess. That was the Republican, Mark Robinson. So, I mean, to say that's a dumb conclusion is the understatement of the century. I mean, obviously, every Democrat can't run against somebody who's got that long of a track record of being like an atrocious candidate. Duh. So that's ridiculous. Also, here's a crazy fact. So the guy who Ken Martin hired to do the report, okay, obviously this was an AI job. It was horrible. It was terrible. It's not ready for prime time, as Ken Martin said. But he still was working for the DNC up until like today. Like he just got let go. Ken Martin announced to the staff today that the guy who wrote it, Rivera, is no longer working with the DNC. But like he was still on a project after doing this bullshit AI report that was completely fake and horrible. I mean, that is so embarrassing, man. It truly is embarrassing. And then also, I'll point this out for you guys. John Favreau said this from PodSave. He said, step 1, promise to release the autopsy. Step 2, put incompetent friend in charge. Step 3, incompetent friend produces incoherent product. Step 4, announce you're not releasing the autopsy. Step 5, lie about why. Step 6, gaslight people who ask, saying they're the problem. Step 7, face internal revolt. Step 8, release autopsy. Oh, my word. Man, that's crazy, bro. This shit is crazy. So after all that, everybody now on the timeline is...
By the way, there is no lessons. There are no lessons in the report, actually. Like, there are no lessons. It isn't actually an analysis of the election. It is not like, hey, this was the area that we did this and we got X. There isn't actually any analysis. Looking through it, it is, for the most part, pretty useless. Whether they wrote it with AI or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have any insight.
Basically like, yeah, I kind of get why he didn't release it. I kind of understand now why he didn't release it. But having said that, he could have just told us the truth about this from the beginning, right? He could have just said, look, the guy I hired didn't do a good job. He used AI. It's a bunch of bullshit in there. And so, like, that's why we're not going to release it. But the most important point, and this is what everybody should be stressing, is this. Why haven't you since commissioned a real expert to do a real report? Because there's a real report to be made about what happened, right? There's a real report that, for example, centers Gaza, centers Biden's failure on foreign policy, which led to a depressed base, which led to reduced turnout, right? There's a lot more to say about this. There's a lot to say about inflation. There's a lot to say about Biden's age. There's a lot to say about doing the switch without actually having a process and, you know, having, you know, an open DNC where you could have actually had something at least relatively more democratic than what we had, where they picked Kamala. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here, right? And nobody's talking about those things. So he should have commissioned a new report, and he should have commissioned an actual expert to do their job right. And then we could be having a real discussion now about what actually went down. But instead, you know, it's too perfect. It shows the incompetence of the people who work at the DNC. It also shows that they're liars who, you know, covered their tracks every step of the way instead of just telling the truth here. And it shows this hellscape of AI that's taking over, where work is going to get more and more dreadful, and, you know, we stray further and further from the light of God. So, crazy stuff here, man. But DNC autopsy has been officially released. It's an absolute mess. I mean, somebody was saying, it appears like, it's 192 pages. It appears like there's factual errors almost on every single page. Factual errors. And it's like, come on, man. It's humiliating. This is absolutely humiliating. So, do a real report and do your job properly. But in reality, like, you got to clean house at the DNC. Like, it should just be mass firings. There are a bunch of, like, corporate hacks who run that thing. We need real lefties, especially now that the Democratic Tea Party is in full effect, and you got left flank candidates who are winning.
There's really no, like, I honest to God don't see any value, you know, in the Democratic Party. other than the kind of identity label that people carry forward. But that reminds me, chat, I wanted to promote something while I have you here. Today, we are doing a gaming stream. A whole bunch of us are doing the gaming stream with Oliver Larkin over on Vio's channel, where we play Monopoly at 8 p.m. Eastern. Me, Vio, Denims, Sad Girl, Maple Takes, and Swifter. We are playing. I don't know why I wasn't following. I'm sorry, buddy. We are playing Monopoly live on Twitch. W Gaming. I'm going to sabotage you so hard. I will take a humble thimble and I will take it to victory with my game theory optimal Monopoly play. And don't worry, I will monopolize. I will monopolize and I will charge high rents. And when I look down upon you from my pile of Monopoly bills, you know, from the penthouse of my Boardwalk and Park Place hotels, my victory is inevitable. You will never see the light of day. But what is your favorite piece and why is it the puppy dog? The Scotty dog? Oh, that's a good one. I like all the worst Monopoly pieces. It's like if a dreadnought is beating you, then you're getting beat by a dreadnought. There's no shame in that, right? If the cavalry is defeating you, there's no shame in that. I want the spinning wheel. I want the shoe. If the sports car is beating you, nobody's ashamed of that. No, I want to defeat you with the iron. I want to thimble your ass. Okay? That's not a trash can, it's a thimble. I want to floppy shoe you. I want to iron your ass. The planchetta is the best one. I mean, it is pretty good, but I do like the thimble because it's like you got beaten by the thimble. God damn. Skitslore says I'm a shoe guy. We know. Everybody can tell. Everybody can tell that you're a shoe guy. Assad versus the Bulwark. Oh wait. What happened? Voters identify free healthcare and other left economic populist policies as moderate. DC think tanks and corporate-sponsored legacy publications are the only places where these concepts are seen as radical. That's why they look at this graph and think we got to pivot right on culture wars. Nobody knows what this means. They don't know what to the center means. They don't know what it means. And it doesn't mean anything. It's self-defined. Here's the best way to understand that. When you say someone should pivot to the center, most normal people think of themselves as the center of the universe. So when you say pivot to the center, they think you mean them. There's a reason why humanity thought the earth was the center of the universe for so long, because we're all think we are the center. We think we represent the average. It's solipsism. It is narcissism. It is it is embarrassing, but it is the truth. So this shit doesn't mean anything. People cannot define what the center means. A candidate moves the party left on foreign policy, healthcare, but right on crime and immigration, and palpably cares about working class concerns. Is capable of communicating those priorities clearly. Should be easy to find. Cry face emoji. We don't have any immigration in this country. Democratic voters want to abolish ICE. They think that's moving to the center. They don't know what that fucking means. This is a meaningless poll. You're a fucking idiot for asking for it. Of course, these cowardly bitches fucking blocked me, so I can't. By the way, you should notice that, right? These cowardly ass fucks block me because I reply to their shit. They don't want to have discourse. They don't want their platform to be used by anybody who's not a right winger. I believe voters don't know how to translate ideological labels to actual policy. If you want to ask people about gender ideology, they think they're centrist. Ask them about policy. Most of the time, they support progressive ideas. Exactly! Correct. Thank you, Jesse. What would be moving to the center on immigration mean? From where the Democrats are now, what would be moving to the center on immigration? What the fuck would that mean? What would it mean to move to the center on crime? We have the lowest crime rate we've had in decades. What would be moving to the center on crime? Like, actually, what would that even mean, you fucking idiot? What would moving to the center on economic issues mean? Not move on transgender issues. What does that mean? I don't know what. I literally talk about politics every day, and I have no idea what this would even fucking mean. It means absolutely fuck all. And so does left and right, by the way, because nobody knows what that means. Like that, they don't know what it means. Only 10% of people are ideological at all. Ideology is a central construct of political psychology. Even so, the field's strong claims about an ideological public rarely engage evidence of enormous individual differences. A minority with real ideological coherence and weak to non-existent political belief organization for everyone else. Results show how polar, coherent, stable, and potent ideological orientations only among the most knowledgeable 20 to 30% of citizens. That heterogeneity means full sample tests overstate ideology for most people, but understate it for knowledgeable citizens. Whether through top-down opinion leadership or bottom-up ideological reasoning, organized political belief systems require political attention and understanding to form. Finally, I show that convenience samples make trouble for ideology generalizations. I conclude by proposing analytic best practices to help avoid overclaiming ideology in the public. Taken together, what first looks like strong and broad ideology is actually ideological innocence for most, and meaningful ideology for a few. Now, this data and this fact has been known for so fucking long, I don't even know where to get. I don't even know where to start, right? Like, people do not know what the fuck they are saying. They don't. How do I know? I've had so many thousands of conversations and I've read so many books, and you motherfuckers don't know what you're saying. Maybe the people here do. You're part of the hyper aware, but it's not true. You don't know what they're talking about. I have to pay to get access to this article, but you get my point. Like, am I ideological or no? You're probably ideological because you're in my chat. Are you starting? No, you're a romantic Pakistani lover boy. So true. And that's why, like, that's why I'm always saying, like, nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about. They're stupid. People don't know what moderate means. They have no fucking idea what moderate means. We've known about this forever. We don't know what moderate means. They don't know. They don't fucking know. Okay? They don't fucking know. They have no idea what this means. And it drives me fucking up the wall. I type, I swear. It's actually so fucking stupid. I don't even know what to say. It's like, the only reason you would post this or make this is if you're a liar. Like, that's really... Do you think the people at the New York Times that are designing these surveys don't know what I'm saying? They are literally liars. Holy fucking hell. Okay.
All over the place.
Finish this.
Like, bring in left-flank candidates. Faz Shakir, you know, the person who ran Bernie's campaigns, he should absolutely be the head of the DNC. And he ran for it, and he almost won, but he should be the head of the DNC because he would never be this incompetent, and he would do a much better job. Like, this is crazy. Bring in Faz Shakir, clean house, get rid of these people, and make the DNC something that actual Democratic voters can be proud of instead of whatever the fuck this is.
You are funny by half thinking you need to explain this to us. After 34 years in the legislature, I don't need to learn the process from a chopped first-year law student. Holy shit.
For everyone who's wondering why Spanberger is vetoing a lot of legislation today, let me explain so you can understand what's going on here. Spanberger, as the governor of Virginia, has the ability to amend legislation sent to her by the legislature, and she used that ability to modify some bills that she thinks, you know, there were some problems. They were trying to rush a process too much. You know, the design of the program wasn't that effective, so on and so forth. So she amends these bills, sends them back to the legislature. What does the legislature do? They decide not to actually take her amendments into their legislation. They decide to basically send the same bills they sent her previously again. And I think the idea of the legislature was, hey, you know, we're going to kind of force her to say up or down on this idea, how we want it, not how she wants it. And the governor said, I just really don't think that the way that y'all are going about this idea is good.
So she vetoed the bills. So she said no to the good bills. You fucking snide piece of shit.
And I'm going to say no, and if you want to do it my way next time, we can do it my way
next time. Fucking dipshit.
So it's not so much that, she, for instance, she opposes having a retail cannabis market. She
opposed having a retail cannabis market by vetoing it.
Supports that. She thinks that the implementation and the speed by which they want to have retail cannabis sales is too fast. Now, you might say, I disagree with her. You know, like, I think the legislature is right on this. I am not a policy expert on these issues.
You don't say, you fucking dumb rat.
But that is what's going on. It's not like she actually opposes these things.
It's not like she actually opposes the things she opposed. I'm going to try not to insult him. Bro, if you veto something, you opposed it. Sorry. God damn. Fucking idiot. Holy shit. I agree with you, but not you're going about it wrong. Is how slimy, dishonest centrists like Spamberger say no when they know it's deeply unpopular to say no, but their donors need her to do it. Moderate libs have been doing this for decades. So true. Yeah, people are a little smarter than you give them credit for how, and they know how the veto process works. It's a shame it hasn't worked out. Yes, because Abigail Spanberger vetoed it, you dumb fucking rat. God damn, I hate these fucks. Holy shit. God damn it, man. All right, chat. We've got another Holy Toledo moment with the Trump polling. I wanted to talk about this. Get your Toledos in the chat.
Get lost, right? We focus in on one poll and one narrative, and sometimes there are competing narratives, and I think it's worth just taking a step back because I think some people are like, well, the polls said one thing and another thing happened. Actually, the polls here differ quite a bit. Democrats lead in choice for Congress. Look at this. New York Times poll came out yesterday, it's 10. That matches with Marist, that was 10. But the Washington Post came out within the last month, that was 5. Fox News came out in the last month, that was 5. And then the CNN poll that we were discussing last week, right? That was a 3-point lead. There's quite this bit of variance that is going on right here. And you know what? This is actually a good thing. This is a normal thing. This is what happens when you have margins of error that are going out there. You'd expect an average, but then you have a range of possible results around that average, and we're not necessarily sure which one is right if the election were held today. And of course, there's the extra variance of the fact that the election is not being held until November.
All right, a range of possible results. And in this case, you know...
You want to hit a pen, Johnny.
I'm going to hit a pen. I'm going to hit a pen. There we go.
There you go.
In this case, this result would be wildly different than that result.
Right. Okay. So you see, this is, of course, the choice, the national popular vote for the House. But what does that mean in terms of seats? What's the difference between, let's say, Democrats winning by 10 versus winning by 3? And this is where it gets really interesting. Okay. So even if you take redistricting into account, given a popular vote win of, let's say, 3 points, what would that mean for Democratic House gains? They gain probably somewhere, an estimate is between 0 and 6 seats, which at the upper end of that range would be enough to take back the House. But in the lower end of that range, that would not be. That would be Republicans holding on. But what about that 10-point lead that you see in Marist, the New York Times? Well, that would be a ginormous blowout. And this is just an estimate. It could be higher, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But we're talking about an estimate of a Democratic gain of between 20 to 30 seats or more. They could be ending up 245 seats or north of there potentially versus being stuck, let's say, 213, 214, 215, 216, maybe barely getting to a majority. So look, when you see this range of potential results, I want you to keep in mind, yes, Democrats are probably favored to take back the House. It's by no means a guarantee, but they could end up blowing the Republicans right out of the water. All of that is within the margin of error at this point, especially given that we're months from the election.
Yes, the difference between maybe not taking it and taking it by a lot. That's
Correct.
The variance in the polls right now. So, Professor Ratton, what does one do? What does one do at this stage of the game when you have these polls showing all these different things?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Professor Berman. And what we would do is we might average the polls together, and you can see that there's been a clear shift towards the Democrats in the average poll. Choice for Congress margin. You go back to Election Day last year, in November of 2025, Democrats were ahead by 4. They're now ahead by 7 in the average poll at this point. And that, if that average held, that will result very much assuredly a clear Democratic majority. And then the last little thing that I will note here is just, Kalshi prediction market chance that Democrats in the midterms, 218 House, and then, let's say, gaining in the Senate, but not necessarily taking it back. Look at this. 69% chance, a very nice 69% chance. So Democrats are still in the catbird seat here. They're likely to gain the House, likely to gain the Senate, but it's by no means a guarantee. The promise of a Trump presidency in the minds of the American people have turned into a reality, and a reality that for them is a nightmare, because just take a look here. Okay, Trump will or is making you financially worse off, better off. Back in October of 2024, the reason why he won a second term, 44% said better off, outrunning the worse off at 38%. But look at these numbers. Down through the floor on the better off now, just 14%. Just 14%. I see Johnny off on the side shaking his head. Trump making them financially better off. Meanwhile, the worse off up like a rocket. The clear majority now, 57% of Americans now say that Trump is making them financially worse off. Back in 1980, Ronald Reagan asked, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? As America's look back now compared to a year and a half ago, their minds on Donald Trump are definitely saying he's made them worse off.
I mean, look at that drop, a 30-point drop in a couple of years. And if you think 14% is low.
Yeah, if you think 14% is low, how low can you go? Well, How about this? Okay, Trump Willer is making you financially worse off, better off among independents, Look at this. The better off now is just 8. It's just 8. When you can count on your hands, you know the number is low. Just 8% say that Trump is making them financially better off among independents. Way, way down from the 40% who said that back in October of 2024 when the better off was outrunning the worse off at 38%. Look at that. That 38%, again, up like a rock.
Holy Toledo.
I feel like I'm at NASA. Look at this. 64% of independents now say that Trump is making them financially worse off. These are numbers we've seen among independents over and over and over again. They have turned against Trump, and now about 2/3.
I mean, these independent numbers.
If the stock market ever takes a shit, if it ever accepts the I guess we just have to accept that Middle East oil isn't that important for the world economy. The Strait of Hormuz is not that important for the world economy, is what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is saying.
Are staggering. I mean, 8% is not zero.
No,
but it's closer to zero than it is to 50.
That's exactly right. When you're closer to 0% than you are to 50% as a politician, you know your numbers are bad.
All right, independents obviously a key swing group. What about some of the groups that were key or have been in the past to Donald Trump's electoral success?
Yeah, normally you want to be winning over independents because the way independents go is the way the nation goes. But you definitely want to be holding on to your base. And of course, one key part of Donald Trump's base is non-college whites without a college degree. And even they are flipping on the President of the United States. Trump will make you financially worse off, better off. Back in October of 2024, look at that, 54% better off, well outpacing worse off at 30%. Now we're looking at basically the inverse. Just 15% say better off among white voters without a college degree. Trump is making them financially better off. And now even there.
That's crazy. Non-college whites are saying he's making them worse off. Translation for everybody. This means that every white person who's not from the South doesn't like Trump. Let me correct that. Every white person who's not an evangelical Christian. Every white person who's not an evangelical Christian doesn't like Trump. That's what we're getting at this point. That's how bad that number is. No wonder there's the pod boy. Even the podcast bros are starting to turn on Trump. Because there's unless they are an evangelical Christian, they are not liking, man. It's just a cult now.
The majority of non-college whites, a key part of Donald Trump's base, are saying he's making them financially worse off. These are numbers that would make me, if I were a Republican running in the midterm elections, be quite worried. The bottom line is this. There's been all this talk about, Donald Trump has this floor. Well, I'll tell you, that floor looks like it was built by the worst carpenters I've ever seen because he just keeps falling through that floor. And it's not just the New York Times poll. This is what I think is so important. Yes, the Times poll got people talking, but it just follows a slew of polling data that all shows the same thing, and that is that Donald Trump is not just under 40%, he's well under 40% in terms of his approval rating. 37% New York Times. CBS came out on Sunday, 37%. Ipsos, 36%. Our CNN poll, 35%. You put it all together, and it is just very clear at this point that Donald Trump is hitting new lows in his polling data, and this one poll is no outlier. It is part of a much larger trend, Kate Baldwin.
You talked about sub 40. So put that in a historical context then. What does it look like for presidents?
Yeah, okay. So you see sub 40, sub 40, sub 40, sub 40. Well, you go back in term twos, right, for different presidents, and there are only other two presidents who were sub 40 at this point in term two. And what happens in the midterm elections? Well, sub 40 approval ratings besides Trump at this point in term two. Well, one was Richard Nixon back in 1974. His party absolutely got crushed in the 1974 midterm elections, suffered huge losses, House and Senate. How about George W. Bush back in 2006? His party lost the House. His party lost the Senate. Again, 30-seat loss in the House for George W. Bush in 2006. A 6-seat loss in the United States Senate. So historically speaking, of course, we'll have to just wait and see what happens here. Yeah. But historically speaking, Kate Baldwin, when you have a president who has a sub-40 approval rating at this point, their party goes down to defeat in the midterm elections. Big losses for Nixon in 74 with the Republican Party, and Bush's Republican Party lost both the House and the United States Senate.
So the party suffers. What has history shown? Do the presidents recover?
Yeah, okay. Do these presidents ever recover? Let's look beyond just the midterm elections. Let's talk about legacy, right? The idea, hey, you know what? We still got more than 2 years' time until the end of Donald Trump's second term. But again, you just go back and look at the sub-40 approval ratings besides Trump. Did their approval rating ever recover Well, I try and make it as simple here sometimes. Sometimes it's numbers, sometimes simply put it's words. The answer is no. In red, Nixon, of course, was out by August of 74. He ended up with, what, a 24%.
What's so awesome about this is it's just going to keep getting worse for Trump. It's going to keep getting worse for the right. So we have to be positioned for the coming wave to make sure it catches as many of our people as possible. You need to be fighting a vicious ideological war because you are one of the very few people in the world that is ideologically aware. And that's what I want you to do.
Approval rating. And George W. Bush, you know what happened to him by the end of his term in 2009? He was actually in the high 20s. He wasn't just sub 40. He was in the 20s. Both Bush and Nixon ended up in the 20s in approval rating. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Donald Trump. This is a sample size of 2, but this is history that you definitely don't want to be a part of. You do not want to be part of this brotherhood. You want to be way, way, way beyond it, because if Donald Trump is a part of this brotherhood, that means he ended his term historically unpopular.
How popular are pickles?
Yeah, no wonder that politicians turn to pickles, because you know what? We have had the last 2 presidents haven't been too hot to trot, right? Joe Biden, Donald Trump, their favorable ratings are way down there in the basement, in the 30s, right? But Pickles, my dear friend, Pickles should run for president, because take a look at this. The popularity of Pickles, 72%, twice as popular as Donald Trump is, more than twice as popular than Joe Biden is. I say that on the ballot come the 2028 election, we should have a Republican Party, a Democratic Party, and then a Pickle Party. That's what I say.
That's the third party option. Interesting, Harry. So this just gives us an idea. Does it bring us together? Do they delight us and unite us?
They delight us, unite us, and I relish how popular pickles are. Yes, every pun in the world I will be using during this segment, Sarah Seidner. Look,
Does he dye his hair? Does he dye his hair? Okay, I gotta be honest, chat. I think men look absolutely terrible with dye jobs. I think men look terrible when they dye their hair to get rid of the gray. I think gray looks good. On men, you know, like maybe I'm being a little frivolous here, but I think it looks like shit.
Popular pickles are, yes, every pun in the world I will be using during this segment, Sarah Seidner. Look, in a world in which we are so divided, Democrats and Republicans.
Kyle has shit hair. Okay, he's bleaching his hair, which is a little bit different. Okay, everybody knows that that's not his natural hair color. That's a little bit like if you dye your hair blue or something, that's different. If you bleach your hair, that's different. But if you're dyeing yourself dark black so no one can see that you're old as fuck, that's a little bit odd. Don't let Hassan hear you say that. I think Hassan is letting his gray come in. What do you mean?
Both enjoy pickles. I mean, the popularity rating, look at this, 71% among Democrats.
I honest to God, you know, I know this is a waste of money and everything, but I think if you don't like pickles, there's one of 2 things going on. The first is you've not really had enough pickles. That's my personal opinion. I'm one of those people that, you know, I'm kind of anti-picky eater, and pickles don't just have to be the standard jar dill cucumber processed pickle. There's a lot of different pickles out there, man. There's a lot of different pickles out there, okay? Pickles are so acidic for me that I can't have them. They burn my tongue. You know, I think there is a difference in experience that is so wide in the human subjectivity. It's kind of fascinating. It's like when I eat spicy food or I eat salty food, I find it really enjoyable, you know? And most people are not that way. And I kind of like, it's one of those moments of frisson, you know, where you look at them and you're like, wow, you really do experience the world a lot different than me. And I have to say, I like experiencing it. I love my subjectivity. I love the fact that I like the spicy and the salty and the sweet and the sour. It's awesome. And I just, you know, if it really causes you to like suffer to such an extreme degree, I understand. I totally understand. But I also, at the same time, you're missing out. You know, you're missing out. You really are.
That's 74% among Republicans. Honestly, when you look at the polling data, the only other thing that I can find, basically, that is as popular besides apple pie is Dolly Parton. So maybe
I hate mayo. I smell it and I get nauseous. It's just fat. You know, I guess I completely disagree with you. Mayo is good. This is my conventional white man take. Mayo is a good condiment. Mayo is a good condiment. It's rotten eggs. No, it's not. It is not rotten eggs in any way. It's emulsified, which is not the same thing as rot. Rot refers to a specific biological process. People, you need to use your words precisely or my autism is going to kick in and I'm going to get mad. How many deviled eggs could I eat? Oh, damn, I'm a deviled eggs enjoyer. It depends on how good they are, obviously. But if you gave me a dozen deviled eggs, I'd house that shit. There was a diner that I lived across the street from that had a deviled egg with a candied bacon. And it was the shit. All right, let's keep going.
We could get a nice ticket of Dolly Parton, and maybe the VP can be Pickles.
That is a sweet deal I'd take any day. I love me some Dolly. All right, so what are we doing? Tomorrow's Pickle Day, National Pickle Day.
So what we're doing here, and I'll tell you.
Most self-proclaimed mayo haters probably eat sauces that use mayo as a base. They definitely do. They definitely do. Also, a lot of people don't understand the difference between actual mayonnaise and things like Miracle Whip or whatever. What's that called? Not Miracle Whip. What's the fake one? The weird one. Is it Miracle Whip? People said it's mayo with mustard powder. No, it's not. It's like some sort of weird emulsion. According to Kraft's archivist, Becky Haglund Tusi, Kraft developed the product in-house using a patented emulsifying machine invented by Charles Chapman to create a product that blended mayonnaise and less expensive boiled dressing, potassium sorbate, modified cornstarch, vinegar, high fructose corn syrup. Gross. All right, chat. Oil prices are pulling back, or they based on hope of a U.S.-Iran deal. Why is this happening? There is no evidence of this happening at all. Why the fuck does this happen again? At a certain point, I feel like I'm being punked. All right, everybody. I'm going to call it there. Don't forget, everybody. Later today, we have the Monopoly gamers, Denims, myself, Sad Girl, Maple Takes, and Oliver Larkin and others. We are playing Monopoly, gaming Mike. And to keep it fair, Vio is going to be my teammate. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Here's all the links. Are you saying Vio sucks? No, Vio is what we like to call a brat. And that they see my stolid game theory optimal play and they decide to be a gremlin and throw sand in the gears. Okay? So come check that out. I'll see it soon. See you soon. Peace out. Solidarity forever. Free Palestine. And socialism is winning.